Greetings, cozy knights. Lower your swords and rest by the fire. Tonight, we journey through the most devastating, bizarre, and legendary armaments ever forged in the lands between. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're listening from tonight, and what games you want me to cover next, and subscribe if this helps you sleep. The Giant Crusher's ancient war heritage. Deep in the Altus Plateau, hidden within a carriage guarded by an ulcerated tree spirit, rests the Giant Crusher, a weapon forged from a single massive boulder during the ancient war against the giants. This colossal hammer weighs 26.5 units and demands 60 strength just to lift, making it one of the heaviest weapons in the entire lands between. The description reveals a melancholy truth. After the giants were defeated and humanity turned against itself in civil war, this tremendous weapon was simply forgotten, abandoned as mankind grew progressively weaker compared to their mighty ancestors. The Giant Crusher reaches attack ratings exceeding 900 when fully upgraded with heavy infusion at 80 strength, delivering crushing blows that pancake enemies into the ground. What makes this hammer truly special is its unique charged heavy attack, which causes your character to perform a forward somersault while swinging, using the weapon's tremendous weight and momentum to cover surprising distance. This attack catches opponents off guard in player combat because they expect slow, plodding hammer swings rather than suddenly hurtling forward through space. The Prelate's Inferno Crozier's launching power. The fire monks who guard Mount Gelmir's volcanic regions wield massive flame-adorned hammers called Prelate's Inferno Croziers, ceremonial weapons that represent the weight of their sacred guardianship duties. This colossal hammer features a head designed to resemble roiling flames, though paradoxically, it deals no fire damage through regular attacks, despite its burning appearance and fiery name. The weapon requires 45 strength and 8 dexterity, demanding even more physical might than most colossal armaments. What distinguishes the Prelate's Inferno Crozier from other hammers is its heavy attack animation, which swings upward in a unique arc, specifically designed to launch enemies skyward, literally flinging opponents into the air where they tumble helplessly. You obtain this weapon by defeating the Fire Prelate guarding Fort Lyad, a guaranteed drop that only occurs once per playthrough. The Prelate's charge skill slams the hammer into earth, creating a surge of actual flames before charging forward, finally delivering the fire damage that the weapon's appearance promises. Despite being a colossal weapon, the Inferno Crozier can be infused with Ashes of War, offering unusual customization options rarely available to weapons this massive and unique. Giza's Wheel's Bloody Rotation. In the bowels beneath Volcano Manor lurks Inquisitor Giza, wielding one of the game's most disturbing weapons. A massive circular saw blade attached to a handle, described in its lore as a device of torture whose design was later adopted for the Iron Virgins. The Giza's Wheel requires 28 strength and 18 dexterity, with moderate requirements for a colossal weapon. This macabre armament builds up blood loss with every hit because its serrated, flesh-flaying blades shred through enemies efficiently. The spinning wheel weapon art causes you to rev the saw blade before advancing forward, while the blade spins rapidly, tearing into enemies multiple times per second. Interestingly, the spinning attack actually builds less blood loss per individual hit than normal strikes, though it hits so many times in succession that the overall effect remains brutal. During this spinning attack, you become surprisingly mobile, able to adjust your direction and pursue fleeing targets while maintaining the devastating rotation. The weapon scales with strength, dexterity, and arcane, with the arcane stat increasing both damage and blood loss buildup simultaneously. Giza's wheel cannot be infused with different ashes of war, forever locked into its sadistic spinning torture mode, which fits perfectly given its grim origins. The Falling Star Beastjaw's gravity mastery. When you defeat the full-grown Falling Star Beast in the 9th Ment Gelmir campsite, you can transform its remembrance into one of the game's most visually spectacular weapons. The Falling Star Beastjaw resembles a massive mandible ripped from an alien creature, which accurately describes its origin. This colossal weapon demands 34 strength, 12 dexterity, and 20 intelligence, marking it as a tool for battle mages who blend physical might with sorcerous power. The weapon deals split physical and magic damage while scaling with all 3 required stats, rewarding diverse attribute investments. Its unique skill, Gravity Bolt, channels gravitational energy to pull enemies towards you before unleashing a devastating shockwave, combining crowd control with damage in a single spectacular ability. The Falling Star Beast. Jaw's heavy attacks feature unique animations where you swing the massive mandible in sweeping arcs that cover wide areas, making it effective against groups despite being a colossal weapon. When fully upgraded, this weapon achieves impressive attack ratings even with moderate stat investments, because it scales across 3 different attributes simultaneously. The alien design and purple gravitational energy effects make this one of the most visually distinctive armaments available. The Axe of Godfrey's first Elden Lord. Godfrey, the first Elden Lord and mightiest warrior to ever claim that title, wielded a massive golden axe in battle before his exile from the lands between. You can claim this legendary weapon by defeating Godfrey's spectral form in Leyndell, or trading his remembrance after conquering his physical body later. The Axe of Godfrey requires 34 strength and 22 dexterity, modest requirements for a colossal weapon that once belonged to a demigod. This golden greatex features intricate engravings and bears the weight of ages, its design speaking to the refined civilization that once flourished under Godfrey's rule. The weapon's unique skill, I command thee kneel, slams the axe into earth, while releasing a shockwave that forces enemies to their knees, demonstrating the absolute authority Godfrey commanded over all who faced him. This skill deals significant poise damage and staggers even large enemies, setting them up for critical strikes. The axe scales primarily with strength and dexterity, functioning well for quality builds that invest evenly in both attributes. When fully upgraded, the Axe of Godfrey achieves respectable damage numbers while offering the historical weight of being the weapon that helped establish the age of the Erd Tree. The Dragon Great Claws, Bestial Talons. Ancient dragons possess claws harder than any forged metal, capable of rending stone and armor with equal ease. Someone in ages past crafted a colossal weapon from one such claw, creating the Dragon Great Claw that you can find in the crumbling Ferrum Azula ruins. This weapon requires 20 strength, 14 dexterity, and remarkably requires 29 faith, making it a tool for warrior priests who invoke draconic power. The Dragon Great Claw deals physical and lightning damage simultaneously, reflecting the storms that ancient dragons commanded. Its unique weapon skill, Endure seems modest at first, simply allowing you to tank through enemy attacks without flinching. But this defensive capability transforms the weapon's playstyle entirely. When you activate Endure, you gain temporary poise that lets you trade blows with even the mightiest foes, absorbing their strikes while delivering your own crushing counterattacks. The claw scales with strength, dexterity, and faith, with faith governing both the weapon's base damage and its lightning component. The claw-like design features 5 massive talons that slash through enemies in wide arcs, the moveset emphasizing sweeping attacks over the vertical slams common to most colossal weapons. Ancient dragon worshippers undoubtedly treasured this weapon as both practical armament and sacred relic. The duelist Great Axe's arena origins. In underground fighting rings scattered throughout the lands between, brutal warriors compete for glory and gold, using massive weapons designed for spectacle as much as effectiveness. The duelist Great Axe represents these savage contests, a weapon intentionally oversized and dramatic to satisfy bloodthirsty crowds. You can obtain this colossal weapon from the duelist enemy wielding it, typically found in areas associated with gladiatorial combat. The axe requires 30 strength and 8 dexterity, marking it as a pure power weapon that cares nothing for finesse or technique. Its blade features a distinctively curved design that sweeps in wide horizontal arcs, perfect for cleaving through multiple opponents simultaneously, which makes sense given its arena combat origins. The standard colossal weapon moveset applies here, but the duelist Great Axe can be customized with any compatible Ash of War, allowing players to tailor it to their preferred fighting style. When infused with heavy affinity, this axe achieves outstanding strength scaling that rewards massive investments in physical power. The weapon's brutal simplicity appeals to players who want to embody the raw, unrefined violence of underground fighting circuits. Its name and design suggest countless bloody matches fought in darkness, champions rising and falling while crowds roared. The Envoy's Great Horn's musical destruction. Within the Lendel capital and Miquella's Haligtree, cherubic creatures called Oracle Envoys wander about blowing ornate horns that produce golden bubbles. When you defeat Envoys carrying the largest horns, you can claim Envoy's Great Horn, a colossal weapon that somehow functions as both musical instrument and devastating bludgeon. This bizarre armament requires 27 strength and 15 faith, reasonable requirements for a weapon wielded by divine messengers. The Great Horn's unique skill, Bubble Shower, causes you to blow into the horn while golden bubbles pour forth, floating upward before detonating in sequence when they contact enemies or reach their apex. These bubbles deal holy damage and can stun-lock groups of enemies caught in the cascading explosions. The weapon itself deals strike damage through melee attacks, swinging with the weight and impact of any other colossal hammer, despite being hollow inside. When upgraded fully, the Envoy's Great Horn becomes surprisingly effective, combining solid melee damage with one of the game's most unusual ranged attacks. The juxtaposition of using a ceremonial musical instrument as a bludgeoning weapon creates amusing cognitive dissonance, especially when you're crushing skulls with something that should be producing symphonies. Oracle Envoys apparently take their musical duties very seriously, willing to weaponize their sacred instruments when threatened. The Golem's halberd's automated defense. Throughout the lands between, stone golems stand eternal watch over ancient ruins and sacred sites, constructed by forgotten civilizations to guard their treasures long after their creators perished. These automatons wield massive halberds scaled to their enormous frames, weapons you can claim by defeating the golems carrying them. The golem's halberd requires 22 strength, 14 dexterity, and 18 intelligence, unusual requirements that suggest the golems themselves possessed some level of magical function. This colossal weapon combines the reach of a polearm with the weight of a great axe, featuring a massive blade affixed to a long shaft. The weapon's unique skill, Braggart's Roar, channels the golem's inhuman strength, temporarily boosting your attack power while releasing a defiant shout. Despite being wielded by stone constructs, the golem's halberd can be infused with ashes of war and modified with different affinities, something the original golems never bothered doing. The halberd deals pure physical damage through its standard attacks, crushing and slashing simultaneously with its unique moveset. When fully upgraded with heavy infusion, this weapon achieves respectable damage while maintaining the sweeping range that makes halberds so effective. The ancient craftsmanship evident in its design raises questions about the civilizations that created the golems and why they felt such powerful guardians were necessary. The Great Club's primitive simplicity. Not every legendary weapon requires intricate forging techniques or enchanted materials. Sometimes, exceptional effectiveness comes from a massive piece of wood shaped into a club and nothing more. The Great Club exemplifies brutal simplicity, an enormous log studded with metal spikes that requires 22 strength to wield effectively. You can find this colossal weapon in various locations, but most memorably, it's wielded by the enormous misbegotten creatures who guard castle gates and treasure rooms. The club's design evokes prehistoric warfare, suggesting that before humanity developed sophisticated metallurgy, they simply grabbed the biggest, heaviest objects available and started swinging. Despite its crude appearance, the Great Club achieves devastating damage when upgraded, especially after applying heavy affinity to maximize strength scaling. The weapon swings slowly but hits with tremendous force, the satisfying impact of wood and metal crushing bones never getting old across dozens of hours. Its simple design means the Great Club accepts any compatible ash of war, transforming into whatever tool your build demands. Some players prefer this primitive bludgeon over more elaborate weapons, specifically because its brutal honesty appeals to something primal in the human psyche. There's undeniable satisfaction in reducing complex combat to its simplest form. Overwhelming force applied directly to the problem. The rotten great axe's scarlet decay. Deep within the lake of rot, where scarlet decay festers in pools of virulent corruption, soldiers fallen to the plague wield weapons similarly afflicted. The rotten great axe represents this contamination, a colossal weapon thoroughly saturated with the scarlet rot that destroyed Caelid. This great axe requires 24 strength and 8 dexterity, standard requirements for colossal weapons, but its true power lies in the decay it inflicts. Every strike builds up scarlet rot on targets, the invisible meter filling gradually until enemies suddenly succumb to aggressive, percentage-based damage that eats their health regardless of defenses. The weapon's natural rot buildup can be enhanced further with arcane investment and various talismans, creating dedicated status effect builds. Unlike blood loss, which triggers once for burst damage, scarlet rot continues inflicting damage over extended periods, making it devastatingly effective against bosses with enormous health pools. The rotten Greytax's visual design emphasizes its corruption, the blade and haft covered in sickly growths and dripping with pestilent fluids. You obtain this weapon by finding it in the Lake of Rot, appropriately located in the exact environment that would create such a diseased armament. Despite its rotten nature, the Greytax can be infused with ashes of war, though purists might argue it already possesses its perfect function as vector for plague. The Rotten Staff's diseased implement. While most staffs channel sorceries, the Rotten Staff serves a different purpose entirely, functioning as a colossal weapon that happens to resemble a magical catalyst. This massive wooden staff, thoroughly corrupted by scarlet rot, requires 16 strength, 9 dexterity, and 14 intelligence to wield effectively. Like the Rotten Greytax, this weapon builds up scarlet rot on struck enemies, though its lower base damage and faster swinging speed create different tactical applications. The Rotten Staff cannot actually cast sorceries despite its appearance, existing solely as a melee weapon that happens to be staff-shaped. You find this weapon in the Lake of Rot alongside other corrupted armaments. Given its location deep within the rot-infested lake and its intelligence requirement, it's reasonable to infer this staff once belonged to a mage who succumbed to the decay while researching the area. The staff can be infused with ashes of war and modified with different affinities, allowing players to customize it beyond its plague-spreading function. When upgraded and properly built around, the Rotten Staff becomes viable for intelligence builds who want melee options, without abandoning their primary stat. The weapon raises questions about whoever originally wielded it and whether they understood the risks of studying scarlet rot so closely. Some treasures found in cursed places carry corruption that outlasts their owners. The staff of the Avatar's Erdtree Authority. Massive wooden avatars guard minor Erdtrees scattered throughout the lands between, wielding enormous staffs that channel divine power. When you defeat the putrid avatar variation found in rotted areas, you can claim the Staff of the Avatar, a colossal weapon imbued with holy energy. This staff requires 24 strength, 10 dexterity, and 20 faith, requiring investment in both physical might and divine favor. Unlike other staffs, this enormous implement functions purely as a melee weapon, swinging with the weight and impact of any Greytax while dealing strike damage. The weapon's unique skill, Erdtree Slam, channels golden energy before smashing the staff down, creating a burst of holy damage around the impact point. This makes the Staff of the Avatar effective against undead enemies, particularly vulnerable to holy damage, combining physical crushing force with sanctified destruction. The staff scales with strength and faith, rewarding builds that blend warrior prowess with religious devotion. Its considerable reach allows you to maintain safe distance while still landing crushing blows. The extended range of colossal weapons, making them surprisingly effective for defensive fighting. The golden filigree decorating the staff's surface speaks to the Erdtree's refined aesthetics. Even weapons of war crafted with attention to beauty and symbolism. Avatars wield these staffs for ages, defending their sacred trees until the rot corrupts them or tarnished warriors strike them down. The Troll's hammer's bound servitude. the Golden Order enslaved trolls to serve as beasts of burden and soldiers in their armies, binding these giants with magic and forcing them to fight. The troll's hammer represents this subjugation, a massive weapon wielded by enslaved trolls against the Erdtree's enemies. This colossal weapon required 28 strength and 8 dexterity, heavy requirements reflecting the troll's natural might. The hammer features distinctive design elements including troll iconography and construction methods that, based on their style, could indicate trolls themselves crafted it, though they would have done so under duress from their captors. Unlike their master's refined golden armaments, the troll's hammer emphasizes brutal functionality, optimized for crushing rather than impressing. The weapon can be infused with ashes of war despite its troll origins, allowing you to customize it with skills the enslaved trolls themselves never accessed. When upgraded with heavy affinity, the troll's hammer achieves impressive strength scaling that makes it viable deep into endgame. You obtain this weapon by defeating specific trolls, carrying it, found in areas where the Golden Order once held power. The tragic history woven into this weapon's existence adds weight to every swing, each impact a reminder that even giants can be broken and chained. Some players specifically use this hammer in builds dedicated to destroying the Golden Order, finding poetic justice in turning the tools of subjugation against the jailers themselves. The Watchdog's staff's construct catalyst. In catacombs and crypts throughout the underground, stone watchdog constructs guard ancient burial sites, wielding staffs clearly designed for casting sorceries despite being golems. The watchdog staff requires 10 strength, 10 dexterity, and 18 intelligence, unusual requirements that could suggest these constructs were designed with magical function in mind. This colossal weapon resembles a catalyst, but functions purely as melee armament. The staff's glintstone components unable to channel sorceries in your hands, despite clearly being designed for that purpose. The staff can be infused with ashes of war and modified with various affinities, making it adaptable to different build strategies. It's relatively lightweight for a colossal weapon, and modest stat requirements make the Watchdog staff accessible earlier than most weapons in its class. When upgraded with magic affinity, the staff gains respectable intelligence scaling, allowing battle mages to maintain solid melee damage while investing primarily in their casting stat. The Watchdog constructs wielding these staffs never actually cast spells, making it unclear whether they ever possess that capability. Based on the staff's design and the intelligence requirement, it's possible the staffs function as magical focuses that help animate the golems, serving as integral components of the constructs rather than mere equipment. The mystery surrounding these ancient guardians deepens with every catacomb explored, each providing more questions than answers. The Starscourge Greatsword's gravitational devastation. When Radan, mightiest of Marika's demigod children, learned gravity magic to prevent his beloved steed from collapsing under his growing weight, he permanently transformed 2 colossal greatswords into gravitational weapons. The Starscourge Greatswords can only be obtained by defeating Radan himself and trading his remembrance, making them trophies of one of the game's most spectacular boss fights. These unique weapons must be dual-wielded together as a paired set, requiring 38 strength, 24 dexterity, and 14 intelligence to wield. When equipped, both swords appear in your hand simultaneously, their combined weight demanding enormous endurance investment. The weapon's unique skill, Starcaller Cry, pulls all nearby enemies towards you with gravity magic before unleashing a devastating slam, identical to Radan's own technique. This crowd control, followed by massive area damage, makes the Star Scourge greatswords exceptional for handling groups, turning quantity into liability for your enemies. The swords deal split physical and magic damage while scaling with strength, dexterity, and intelligence, rewarding diverse stat investments. Radan's mastery of gravity allowed him to continue fighting despite his body rotting from scarlet rot, and these weapons channel that same cosmic power. Using them feels like wielding fragments of a constellation, gravity itself bending to your will. The Malekith's Black Blade's destined death. Malekith, the Black Blade, serves as Marika's shadow and keeper of the Rune of Death, wielding a sword that channels destined death itself. When you defeat this tragic figure in crumbling Ferrum Azula, you can trade his remembrance for the colossal sword that defined his existence. The Black Blade requires 34 strength, 12 dexterity, and 20 faith, substantial requirements for one of the game's most powerful weapons. This greatsword deals physical and holy damage while featuring unique properties tied to death itself. Its weapon skill, Destined Death, creates a wave of black flame that reduces enemy maximum HP temporarily, one of the few effects in the game that actually diminishes health bars rather than merely dealing damage. Against bosses, this HP reduction can make impossible encounters manageable, literally shrinking their health pools to more reasonable levels. The sword scales with strength, dexterity, and faith, but its holy damage component means it devastates undead enemies particularly vulnerable to such attacks. The black and gold design of the blade reflects Malekith's role as enforcer of death within a world where the Erdtree supposedly granted eternal life. The weapon's tremendous power and unique mechanics make it popular among players who defeated Malekith and want to wield the power that nearly killed them. Every swing channels death itself, the fundamental force that Marika tried desperately to seal away. The inseparable sword's divine union. In Miquella's Haligtree, the twin boss fight against Ordina Valkyries culminates in victory that grants access to their unique weapon. The inseparable sword appears as a single greatsword, but channels the power of two warriors who fought as one. This unique weapon requires 16 strength, 16 dexterity, and 18 intelligence. Modest requirements for such a significant armament. The sword deals physical and magic damage, its edge glowing with the golden sorceries that the Valkyries commanded. Its weapon skill, Miquella's Ring of Light, creates expanding rings of holy light that hit enemies multiple times, dealing significant damage over a wide area. This makes the inseparable sword effective for crowd control, despite being a greatsword, rather than a colossal weapon. The sword scales with strength, dexterity, and intelligence, rewarding balanced builds that invest across multiple attributes. Its design features elegant curves and golden filigree that speaks to Miquella's refined aesthetic sensibilities, every detail purposeful and beautiful. The name Inseparable refers to the bond between the twin Valkyries who wielded it together, their partnership making them far more dangerous than either could be alone. When you swing this sword, you're channeling the power of that perfect synchronization, two warriors moving as one being. the Godslayer's greatsword's black flame. Long before the current age, the gloam-eyed queen led the Godskin apostles in a campaign to slay gods using black flame that could kill even immortal beings. The Godslayer's greatsword served as sacred weapon in this faith, imbued with the power to end divine existence. You can find this colossal sword at the divine tower of Khalid, hidden away but not destroyed despite the threat it represents. The greatsword requires 20 strength, 14 dexterity, and 22 faith, requiring significant investment in religious power. Its unique weapon skill, the Queen's Black Flame, ignites the blade with dark fire before executing a charging slash, the black flames dealing percentage-based damage, particularly effective against high health enemies. The sword scales with strength, dexterity, and faith while dealing physical and fire damage, though the fire manifests as black flames rather than normal combustion. Against bosses, the Godslayer's greatsword excels because its black flame cuts through their enormous health pools with percentage-based damage that ignores raw numbers. The weapon's very existence challenges the Golden Order's claim to eternal rule, proving that even gods can die when confronted with sufficient power. Some players specifically build around this weapon for thematic runs dedicated to destroying every god and demigod in the lands between. The Queen, who originally blessed this blade, was defeated and her power sealed, but the sword remains, waiting for someone worthy to claim the god-slaying legacy. The serpent hunter's specific purpose. In the heart of Volcano Manor, god-devouring serpent Rykard demands defeat, and conveniently a weapon specifically designed to slay massive serpents rests in his boss arena. The serpent hunter was created explicitly to kill Rykard, its length and abilities optimized for fighting enormous foes. This great spear requires 22 strength and 11 dexterity, accessible requirements for a legendary armament. What makes the Serpent Hunter unique is that within Rykard's boss fight specifically, it receives massive damage buffs and extended range, transforming from solid weapon into devastating boss killer. Its unique skill, Great Serpent Hunt, thrusts the spear forward with explosive force, launching you through the air toward your target in a spectacular diving attack. Outside Rykard's fight, the Serpent Hunter functions as an above-average great spear with solid reach and damage. Respectable, but unremarkable. The weapon cannot be infused with different ashes of war, forever locked into its serpent-slaying function. Its existence raises fascinating questions. Who created a weapon specifically to kill Rykard, and when did they do so? The spell resting in his arena suggests it was placed there deliberately, either by Rykard himself in a moment of self-destructive honesty, or by someone who knew he would eventually need to die. The tragedy is that the serpent provides his own execution tool, the Vike's War Spear's maddening flame. Vike, the Tarnished who came closest to becoming Elden Lord before the player character, wielded a unique spear imbued with yellow madness flames. This weapon represents his fall from grace, when he embraced the frenzied flame to save his maiden rather than burn her to access the Forge of Giants. The Vike's War Spear requires 16 strength, 20 dexterity, and 18 faith, balanced requirements reflecting its hybrid nature. This great spear builds up madness on struck enemies, the yellow, flame effect visible on every hit as insanity accumulates in your target's mind. When the madness meter fills completely, enemies take massive damage, and temporarily lose the ability to act, stumbling in confusion. The weapon's unique skill, Madness Thrust, charges the spear with concentrated frenzy before lunging forward, dealing heavy madness buildup in addition to physical damage. The spear scales with strength, dexterity, and faith, while dealing physical and fire damage, though the fire manifests as the aberrant yellow flames of the frenzied flame. Vike's tragic story adds weight to every thrust of this spear, each strike a reminder that even heroes can fall when forced to choose between love and destiny. Players hunting the madness ending specifically often gravitate toward this weapon, its thematic resonance with the frenzied flame making it perfect for roleplay builds. The Mogwin's Sacred Spear's Blood Dynasty. Mog, Lord of Blood, seeks to establish a new dynasty through bloodshed and corruption, wielding a sacred spear that channels his obsession. The Mogwin's Sacred Spear can only be obtained by defeating Mog and trading his remembrance, claiming the weapon that defined one of the game's most difficult boss fights. This great spear requires 24 strength, 14 dexterity, and 27 arcane, with the high arcane requirement being unusual for a legendary armament. The spear builds up blood loss through its attacks, but its true power manifests through its weapon skill. Blood Boon Ritual transforms you into Mog himself temporarily, performing his signature 3-part attack, where you stab the spear into ground multiple times, each impact creating pools of explosive blood flame. This skill deals devastating damage across wide areas while building massive blood loss, capable of obliterating groups of enemies in seconds. The spear scales primarily with arcane, making it the ultimate weapon for blood loss builds that invest heavily in that often neglected stat. Against enemies vulnerable to hemorrhage, the Mogwin's Sacred Spear becomes arguably the most powerful weapon in the game, trivializing encounters through sheer burst damage. The blood-stained appearance and grotesque decorations make it visually distinctive, its aesthetic matching Mog's disturbing obsession with blood and dynasty. Using this weapon feels transgressive, channeling the power of one of the game's most morally corrupt bosses. The Siluria's Tree's Crucible Knight legacy. Ancient Crucible Knights served the Erdtree in its earliest days, before the current order solidified and their wild, primordial powers fell out of favor. Siluria was one such knight, wielding a great spear imbued with the Crucible's energies. You can find Siluria's tree in the deep-root depths, hidden in the underground, where ancient things persist. This great spear requires 20 strength, 13 dexterity, and 20 faith, requiring investment in divine power, alongside physical might. The weapon's unique skill, Siluria's Woe, charges the spear with crucible energy before executing a devastating thrust that can pierce through multiple enemies. The spear scales with strength, dexterity, and faith, while dealing primarily physical damage, though its abilities channel holy power. Its design features golden branches growing along the shaft, suggesting the weapon is literally transforming into a tree through crucible energy. Against groups of enemies positioned in a line, Siluria's Woe becomes incredibly effective, the piercing thrust destroying everything in its path. The Crucible Knight's fall from grace mirrors the weapon's obscure location, both pushed into darkness as the Golden Order refined itself. Some players specifically seek this weapon for builds dedicated to Crucible magic, combining the spear with aspects of the Crucible incantations for complete thematic cohesion. The legacy of these ancient knights persists in the weapons they wielded, even after the Order abandoned them. The Cross Naginata's Eastern elegance. From the distant land of reeds, exotic warriors brought unique weapons rarely seen in the lands between. The Cross Naginata represents this foreign influence, a polearm combining spear reach with blade versatility. You can find this weapon on a corpse in the Gale Tunnel, implying some traveller from afar met their end far from home. The Cross Naginata requires 16 strength and 20 dexterity, favouring swift warriors over pure strength builds. This spear naturally builds up blood loss on enemies, making it effective for hemorrhage-focused builds without requiring special infusions. The weapon can be customized with Ashes of War and modified with various affinities, offering flexibility rare for weapons with innate status effects. When infused with occult affinity and combined with high arcane investment, the Cross Naginata becomes one of the fastest blood loss builders in the game, rapidly filling enemy hemorrhage meters. Its moveset features quick thrusting attacks that hit faster than most spears, the Eastern fighting style emphasizing speed and precision. The cross-shaped blade configuration gives this Naginata its name, allowing it to cut in multiple directions during slashing attacks. For players who want the reach of spears combined with bleed build-up, the Cross Naginata offers exactly that combination in a lightweight package. Its Eastern origins make it popular for builds based on Land of Reeds warriors, combining it with samurai armor and katanas for complete aesthetic unity. The Tree Spear's Golden Order authority. Elite soldiers in service to the Erd Tree wield golden great spears that channel holy power, representing the military might backing the Golden Order's rule. The Tree Spear exemplifies these armaments, a weapon designed to punish heretics and defend the faith. You can obtain this great spear from Lendel knights carrying it, though the drop rate means you might need to farm several soldiers before claiming one. The Tree Spear requires 15 strength, 15 dexterity, and 15 faith, balanced requirements allowing diverse builds to wield it. This golden spear deals physical and holy damage simultaneously, making it particularly effective against undead enemies vulnerable to sanctified attacks. The weapon's unique skill, Sacred Order, temporarily increases attack power through prayer to the Erd Tree, the character kneeling briefly before rising with enhanced strength. Against enemies weak to holy damage, the Tree Spear absolutely devastates, its dual damage types synergizing perfectly. The golden construction and religious iconography make the Tree Spear visually match other Golden Order equipment, perfect for fashion-focused builds. When upgraded with Sacred Affinity, the spear's holy damage increases significantly while gaining faith scaling, creating a true paladin weapon. Some players appreciate the Tree Spears, specifically because it represents the Golden Order at its most martial, the sword arm of religious authority. Every thrust channels conviction that the Erd Tree's rule is righteous and eternal, even as that age crumbles around you. The pike's classic reach. Among the standard weapons available to players, few match the pike's impressive range. This simple great spear extends your striking distance significantly, allowing you to poke enemies from safety while they struggle to close distance. You can purchase the pike from the nomadic merchant in Liurnia, or find it on corpses in various locations, its commonality belying its effectiveness. The weapon requires 12 strength and 12 dexterity, accessible requirements that make it viable from the early game. Despite its basic nature, the pike excels in specific situations where range provides the deciding advantage. Against enemies with slow, powerful attacks, you can repeatedly thrust from outside their reach, never allowing them to retaliate. The weapon can be infused with any compatible Ash of War and modified with various affinities, transforming it to match your build's needs. When upgraded with heavy or keen affinity depending on your stat distribution, the pike achieves solid damage while maintaining its incredible reach. In player versus player combat, skilled pike users frustrate opponents by constantly maintaining spacing, poking from distances that prevent counterattacks. The weapon's simplicity is its strength, offering nothing except extreme reach and allowing you to focus purely on positioning and timing. Some of the game's most challenging encounters become significantly easier when you can attack from relative safety, the pike's length providing security that shorter weapons cannot match. Not every legendary tale features exotic weapons. Sometimes victory comes from mundane tools used with exceptional skill. The partisan's versatile design. The partisan combines spear thrusting with blade, slashing, featuring a wide spearhead designed to cut as effectively as it pierces. You can find this great spear in various locations, dropped by soldiers wielding it or purchased from merchants. The weapon requires 13 strength and 12 dexterity, low requirements making it accessible to most builds. What distinguishes the partisan from other spears is its moveset, which includes slashing attacks alongside the traditional thrusts, providing versatility. This makes the partisan effective against groups where you can sweep the wide blade through multiple targets rather than stabbing one at a time. The weapon accepts Ashes of War and can be modified with different affinities, allowing comprehensive customization. When built properly with heavy or keen infusion depending on your stats, the partisan achieves respectable damage while maintaining its flexible moveset. Its balanced nature makes it popular among players who want options in combat rather than specialization. The ability to thrust or slash depending on the situation proving valuable. The partisan represents the evolution of spear design. Ancient smiths recognizing that combining multiple blade types on a single weapon creates more tactical flexibility. In areas with narrow corridors, the thrusting attacks excel, while open areas benefit from sweeping slashes. This adaptability makes the partisan effective throughout the game despite being a common weapon, rather than legendary rarity. The Claymore's timeless reliability. Among great swords, few possess the Claymore's reputation for balanced excellence. This weapon has appeared in nearly every From Software title, always delivering reliable performance for players who master its moveset. In Elden Ring, you find the Claymore on a corpse in Castle Morn's ramparts, accessible relatively early. The greatsword requires 16 strength and 13 dexterity, moderate requirements allowing quick access. What makes the Claymore special isn't exceptional damage or unique abilities, but rather perfect balance across all metrics, excelling at nothing while being good at everything. The weapon swings at respectable speed for a greatsword, hits hard enough to matter, reaches far enough for safety, and weighs little enough to avoid overburdening your equip load. It accepts any compatible Ash of War and can be infused with all affinities, providing complete build flexibility. When upgraded with quality affinity and balanced strength dexterity investments, the Claymore achieves impressive damage through combined scaling. Veterans of previous Souls games often gravitate toward the Claymore specifically because its moveset feels comfortable and familiar. Muscle memory from previous titles translating perfectly. The greatsword's simple elegance appeals to players who want effectiveness without gimmicks, pure swordplay refined to its essential form. In player versus player combat, the Claymore's balanced nature makes it difficult to exploit weaknesses because it truly doesn't have significant ones. Jack of all trades and master of still being quite good at everything. The Zweihander's colossal reach. For those who want greatsword reach but colossal weapon power, the Zweihander bridges that gap perfectly. This enormous two-handed sword requires 19 strength and 11 dexterity to wield. Substantial but manageable requirements. You can purchase the Zweihander from the isolated merchant's shack in Weeping Peninsula, making it accessible extremely early in your journey. The weapon's length provides exceptional range for a colossal sword, allowing you to strike enemies from distances they don't expect. Its moveset emphasizes thrusting attacks alongside the typical sweeping slashes, the combination providing tactical flexibility. When two-handed, the Zweihander transforms into a devastating weapon that can stun-lock many enemies through repeated strikes, your poise allowing you to tank through their attacks while dishing out far more damage. The weapon accepts Ashes of War and can be infused, allowing customization despite being a classic design that's appeared in countless games. When upgraded with heavy affinity and high strength investment, the Zweihander achieves damage, numbers rivaling lighter colossal weapons while swinging noticeably faster. Its iconic status in Souls communities means many players specifically seek it out for tradition's sake. The Zweihander representing legacy that extends across multiple gaming generations. Against bosses, the combination of reach, damage, and stun-lock potential makes this colossal sword incredibly effective, allowing aggressive play that will be suicidal with slower weapons. The greatsword's legendary bulk. When players reference the greatsword in Souls communities, they're discussing the specific colossal weapon inspired by Guts' Dragon Slayer from Berserk manga. This massive blade has appeared in every Souls game, always delivering absurd damage for players willing to invest required stats. In Elden Ring, you find the greatsword in a treasure chest on a carriage in Caelid, guarded by enemies. The weapon requires 31 strength and 12 dexterity, heavy requirements justified by its extreme power. This colossal sword deals physical damage through brutal overhead slams and sweeping horizontal cuts, each hit staggering enemies. When upgraded with heavy affinity and maximum strength investment, the greatsword achieves attack ratings exceeding 900, capable of two-shotting many enemies throughout the game. Its moveset feels deliberate and weighty, every swing and commitment that must land or leave you vulnerable. The weapon accepts Ashes of War, with Lion's Claw being particularly popular for its aggressive forward leap that closes distance. Veterans specifically seek the greatsword for nostalgia, its presence linking Elden Ring to the franchise's history. Using this weapon feels like embodying pure strength, philosophy, rejecting speed and technique in favor of overwhelming force. The Executioner's great axe's brutal efficiency. In the lands between darker corners, executioners carried out death sentences with massive axes designed for quick, decisive beheadings. The Executioner's Great Axe represents these grim duties, a weapon optimized for severing heads with single swings. You can find this Great Axe dropped by specific enemies wielding it, typically in areas associated with execution and judgment. The weapon requires 34 strength and 8 dexterity, extreme requirements emphasizing pure power. Its curved blade and heavy weight create devastating overhead slams that deal tremendous damage through the kinetic energy of gravity-assisted descent. The Executioner's Great Axe can be infused with Ashes of War and customized with various affinities, allowing personalization despite its specific original purpose. When upgraded with heavy affinity, this Great Axe achieves some of the highest strength scaling available, rewarding maximum investment in that attribute. Its massive poise damage staggers enemies consistently, creating opportunities for critical strikes after stance breaks. The weapon's dark history as execution tool adds weight to every swing, each impact echoing centuries of sentenced criminals meeting their end. Some players specifically choose this Great Axe for Grim Reaper builds, combining it with Executioner armor and death-themed spells for complete thematic unity. The brutal efficiency that made it ideal for judicial killings translates perfectly to monster slaying, heads rolling regardless of whether you're executing criminals or dragons. The Crescent Moon, Axe's lunar blessing. Unlike most great axes that emphasize pure strength, the Crescent Moon Axe incorporates sorcery into its design. This weapon features a curved blade resembling a crescent moon, channels magic through its edge. You can obtain this Great Axe from the Kyrian Knight, carrying it in Liurnia, defeating them to claim their armament. The weapon requires 20 strength, 12 dexterity, and 16 intelligence, unusual requirements for a Great Axe that demand magical knowledge. This hybrid weapon deals physical and magic damage simultaneously, scaling with strength, dexterity, and intelligence. Its unique skill, Spinning Slash, creates a spinning attack that hits multiple times while moving forward, effective for crowd control. The Crescent Moon Axe excels for battle mages who want substantial melee damage without abandoning intelligence investments, providing a weapon that rewards their primary stat. When upgraded with magic affinity, the axe's magical damage increases significantly while improving intelligence scaling further. Against enemies weak to magic damage, this Great Axe devastates through its split damage types, hitting different defensive stats. The Lunar Design and Kyrian Knight Association link this weapon to Raya Lucaria's sorceress traditions, representing their attempt to blend military might with magical power. Some players appreciate that the Crescent Moon Axe allows them to maintain respectable melee damage while primarily building for sorcery, bridging the gap between warrior and mage. The Celebrant's Cleaver's Twisted Celebration. In hidden areas throughout the lands between, deranged cultists celebrate unknown rites through frenzied revelry and violence. These celebrants wield crude cleavers that somehow enhance rune acquisition, their strange magic making death more profitable. The Celebrant's Cleaver can be found carried by celebrant enemies, dropped randomly when you defeat them. This Great Axe requires 12 strength and 8 dexterity, extremely low requirements for any Great Axe. What makes this weapon special isn't combat performance, but its unique passive effect. Wearing it increases runes gained from defeated enemies by 10%, stackable with other rune boosting effects. Players farming, Runes specifically equip the Celebrant's Cleaver in secondary weapon slots, gaining its benefit without actually using it in combat. When fully upgraded, the Cleaver achieves acceptable damage, making it viable as actual weapon rather than pure farming tool. Its crude construction and stained blade suggest countless victims have fed its magic, their deaths strengthening the weapon's strange properties. Some theorize the celebrants worship ancient powers predating the Erd Tree, their rituals tapping fundamental forces through methods the Golden Order considers heretical. The Cleaver's rune-enhancing magic proves their techniques work regardless of orthodoxy, practical benefits transcending theological disputes. For players grinding levels or purchasing expensive items, the Celebrant's Cleaver becomes essential farming equipment, its 10% boost accumulating into significant savings over hundreds of enemy kills. The Battle Hammer's Infantry Standard. Among common weapons, the Battle Hammer represents the standard one-handed warhammer issued to foot soldiers throughout the lands between. This hammer requires 10 strength and 7 dexterity, minimal requirements allowing nearly any character to wield it effectively. You can find battle hammers dropped by soldiers carrying them, or purchased from merchants selling basic equipment. The weapon's simplicity belies its effectiveness against armored enemies. Strike damage bypassing defenses that would deflect, slash, or pierce attacks. When upgraded and infused appropriately, the Battle Hammer achieves solid damage while maintaining rapid attack speed, allowing you to pummel enemies with repeated blows. Its lightweight means minimal equip load investment, leaving room for heavier armor or backup weapons. The hammer accepts Ashes of War and can be modified with any affinity, transforming to match your build's needs. Against enemies wearing heavy armor, switching to the Battle Hammer often proves more effective than continuing with cutting weapons that bounce off plate mail. Its ubiquity suggests the hammer design has proven effective across centuries of warfare, enough that armies standardized it as basic equipment. Some players appreciate the Battle Hammer specifically because its commonality provides authentic medieval soldier experience, using the same tools as countless faceless troops throughout history. Not every hero wields legendary weapons. Sometimes victory comes through proper application of standard issue equipment that stood the test of time. The Monk's Flame Mace's Sacred Flame. Fire monks who guard Mount Gelmer's volcanic slopes wield unique weapons blessed with sacred flames, representing their religious dedication to fire worship. The Monk's Flame Mace combines Warhammer impact with burning damage, creating a weapon that crushes and incinerates simultaneously. You can obtain this hammer by defeating specific fire monk enemies wielding it. Though the drop rate means farming, multiple monks might be necessary. The weapon requires 12 strength, 8 dexterity, and 14 faith, requiring religious devotion alongside physical might. The Monk's Flame Mace deals physical and fire damage through its attacks, effective against enemies vulnerable to either type. Its unique skill, Surge of Faith, channels flames through the hammer before releasing them in a wave that spreads across the ground, igniting everything in its path. The hammer scales with strength, dexterity, and faith, rewarding builds that invest across multiple attributes. When upgraded with Flame Art Affinity, the fire damage increases dramatically while improving faith scaling, creating a true warrior priest weapon. Against enemies weak to fire, the Monk's Flame Mace becomes incredibly effective, its dual damage types synergizing perfectly. The Fire Monk's devotion to flame worship provides context for this weapon's existence, their entire religious tradition built around sacred combustion. Some players specifically seek the monk's flame mace for Crusader builds, combining it with fire incantations and flame-themed talismans for complete thematic cohesion. The hammer represents faith made manifest through purifying fire, heretics and monsters burning equally before religious conviction. The Knight Rider flail's cavalry weapon. Throughout the lands, between knights, spectral cavalrymen patrol roads and bridges, wielding unique weapons impossible to obtain during daylight hours. The Knight Rider flail represents these ghostly riders' armaments, a weapon combining reach with erratic attack patterns. You can claim this flail by defeating specific Knight's cavalry bosses, the weapon appearing in your inventory after victory. The flail requires 16 strength and 10 dexterity, moderate requirements for a weapon that swings faster than its weight suggests. What makes flails unique is their attack pattern. The spiked head swings on a chain, creating delayed impacts that bypass shields and confuse opponents. This makes the Knight Rider flail effective against shielded enemies who expect to block your strikes. The flail head wrapping around defenses to strike from unexpected angles. The weapon can be infused with ashes of war and modified with various affinities, allowing customization despite its spectral origins. When upgraded with heavy affinity and solid strength investment, the Knight Rider flail achieves impressive damage while maintaining its shield bypassing properties. Against human enemies relying on shields, switching to this flail often proves the key to breaking their defense, the chain allowing attacks from angles that traditional weapons cannot reach. The Knight's cavalry's spectral nature raises questions about when they died and whether they're doomed to patrol forever, bound to their duty even after death. Using their weapons feels slightly transgressive, claiming armaments from ghosts who cannot protest the theft. The chain link flail's brutal simplicity. Sometimes the most effective weapons are the simplest, a heavy weight attached to a handle by a chain. The chain link flail embodies this philosophy, eschewing elaborate design in favor of pure kinetic energy. You can purchase this flail from merchants or find it on corpses, its commonality suggesting widespread use among soldiers and brigands. The weapon requires 13 strength and 8 dexterity, accessible requirements allowing early acquisition. Like all flails, the chain-link flail bypasses shields through its unique attack pattern, the spiked ball wrapping around defenses. The weapon swings faster than hammers or axes of equivalent weight, allowing rapid combos that keep enemies on defensive. It accepts ashes of war and can be infused with any affinity, providing complete customization flexibility. When upgraded properly, the chain-link flail achieves solid damage while maintaining the shield bypassing properties that make flails tactically valuable. Against enemies with exceptional poise, flail attacks bypass that defense because poise doesn't prevent the chain from wrapping around the target. Its simple construction means anyone can maintain it. No specialized knowledge required, unlike more complex weapons. Some players appreciate the chain-link flail specifically because its brutal simplicity matches their preferred combat philosophy. Strike enemy, watch them fall, repeat. The weapon represents pure violence reduced to essential components. No pretense of nobility or honor, just effective application of force through physics. the bastard star's cosmic corruption. When Astal, natural born of the void, descended from space to devastate civilizations, it brought cosmic horrors incomprehensible to mortal minds. The bastard star's weapon captures some fragment of that otherworldly power, a flail created from meteoric materials imbued with void energy. You can obtain this unique weapon by defeating Astal and trading its remembrance, claiming a piece of the stars themselves. The flail requires 12 strength, 20 dexterity, and 18 intelligence, unusual requirements demanding magical knowledge. This cosmic weapon deals physical and magic damage while featuring innate gravity properties. Its unique skill, Nebula, creates a gravitational explosion that pulls enemies inward before detonating, mimicking the void techniques Astal employed. The bastard stars scales with strength, dexterity, and intelligence, rewarding diverse stat investments. When fully upgraded, this flail achieves impressive damage while maintaining the shield bypassing properties all flails possess. Against enemies vulnerable to magic damage or gravity effects, the bastard stars devastates through its split damage types and crowd control capabilities. The cosmic design featuring meteoric ore and crystalline components makes this one of the game's most visually distinctive weapons, its otherworldly nature evident. Using this flail feels like wielding fragments of space itself, gravity bending to your will as stars did to Astal's. Some players specifically seek this weapon for cosmic horror builds, combining it with gravity spells and void-themed talismans for complete thematic unity. The universe's infinite darkness channels through every swing. The Envoy's Longhorn's Golden Symphony, Oracle Envoys wandering the Halic Tree, and Lendl carry horns of varying sizes, the largest being the Envoy's Longhorn. This enormous instrument functions as both musical device and devastating bludgeon. You can obtain this great hammer by defeating larger Envoy enemies wielding it, though the drop rate means farming multiple oracles might be necessary. The weapon requires 20 strength and 15 faith, requiring religious devotion alongside physical might. Like the smaller Envoy's Great Horn, this weapon's unique skill creates golden bubbles that float upward and explode, dealing holy damage across wide areas. What distinguishes the Longhorn is its greater size and reach, allowing you to maintain safe distance while still delivering crushing blows. The weapon scales with strength and faith while dealing strike and holy damage simultaneously. When upgraded with Sacred Affinity, the Longhorn's holy damage increases dramatically while improving faith scaling, creating a true paladin weapon. Against undead enemies particularly vulnerable to holy damage, this hammer becomes incredibly effective, each strike blessed by divine power. The Oracle Envoy's purpose remains mysterious, their horns clearly important to whatever message they're spreading. Some theorize they announce significant cosmic events, their music marking moments when the world shifts. Using their horns as weapons feels slightly sacrilegious, repurposing sacred instruments for violence. The cognitive dissonance of crushing skulls with a musical instrument never quite resolves, creating amusing juxtaposition. The cranial vessel, Candlestan's grotesque innovation. In the darkest corners of the lands between, someone created weapons from desecrated remains, crafting implements of war from components that should be laid to rest. The cranial vessel Candlestand represents this macabre innovation. A great hammer featuring a skull mounted atop a candlestick. You can find this disturbing weapon in specific locations associated with death worship and heretical practices. The hammer requires 22 strength and 8 dexterity, heavy requirements for a weapon whose design focuses on shock value as much as effectiveness. Its unique skill, Dirge of Faith, channels divine energy through the skull vessel, creating waves of holy damage that spread from the impact point. Despite its grotesque construction, the cranial vessel candlestand deals solid damage and scales reasonably with strength, making it viable beyond its morbid appeal. When upgraded fully, this hammer achieves respectable attack ratings while maintaining the disturbing aesthetic that makes it memorable. Against enemies, the psychological impact of being struck by a candlestick skull hybrid might be as effective as the physical damage. The weapon's very existence raises questions about who would create such a thing and what religious tradition would bless it as sacred implement. Some players specifically seek the cranial vessel candlestand for dark priest builds, combining it with death sorceries and grave-robbing talismans for complete thematic cohesion. The hammer proves that not all holy weapons gleam with golden light. Sometimes faith manifests through disturbing channels that challenge comfortable assumptions about divinity. The Great Star's Battlefield Recovery. Among great hammers, the Great Star's offers unique utility beyond simple damage output. This weapon features a distinctive design covered in protruding spikes, each capable of draining life force. You can obtain the Great Stars by defeating specific enemies wielding it or finding it in treasure locations. The hammer requires 22 strength and 12 dexterity, standard requirements for its weapon class. What makes this hammer special is its innate HP recovery effect. Every strike heals you for a small amount, the life-stealing spikes draining vitality from enemies. This makes the Great Stars exceptional for prolonged fights where healing flask conservation matters, your sustained damage slowly recovering health. The weapon can be infused with Ashes of War and modified with various affinities, customization allowing you to enhance either damage or utility depending on build priorities. When combined with other HP recovery effects like Blessed Dew Talisman or Godskin Swaddling Cloth, the Great Stars transforms you into nearly unkillable tank who heals faster than enemies can damage. Against bosses, the sustained healing often means the difference between victory and defeat, each swing extending your survival. The spike design suggests inspiration from Morningstar weapons used in medieval warfare, their ability to pierce armor making them infantry favorites. Some players appreciate the Great Stars specifically because its healing property creates forgiving gameplay, mistakes less punishing when your weapon passively recovers health. The hammer represents sustainable warfare, your ability to outlast rather than overwhelm enemies. The brick hammers improvise violence. Not every weapon starts life with military purpose. The brick hammer resembles construction equipment repurposed for combat, its design clearly intended for building rather than destroying. You can find this hammer dropped by various enemies or purchased from merchants selling common equipment. The weapon requires 13 strength and 7 dexterity, minimal requirements reflecting its improvised nature. Despite being construction tool, the brick hammer deals solid strike damage when upgraded, physics caring nothing for original intent. Its Yoshi simplicity means the hammer accepts any compatible Ash of War and can be infused with all affinities, providing complete customization flexibility. When built properly, With heavy affinity and strength investment, the brick hammer achieves damage rivaling purpose-built weapons. Against enemies, getting killed by construction equipment adds insult to injury, their defeat coming from improvised armament. The hammer's ubiquity suggests desperate times in the lands between, where even labourers grab whatever tools available to defend themselves. Some players specifically use the brick hammer for humble hero builds, rejecting legendary weapons in favour of common implements that anyone might wield. The hammer proves that violence requires no specialised equipment, just sufficient force applied through any available implement. Wars are fought by common folk as often as heroes, and their weapons tell those unglamorous stories. The Warpick's armour-piercing design against heavily armoured opponents. Cutting weapons prove ineffective, their blades deflecting off plate mail. The Warpick addresses this problem through spike-focused design that punches through armour rather than attempting to cut it. You can obtain this warhammer from various sources, dropped by soldiers, or purchased from merchants. The weapon requires 10 strength and 10 dexterity, balanced requirements allowing diverse builds to wield it. The Warpick's pointed head concentrates force into a small area, creating tremendous pressure that pierces defenses cutting weapons cannot bypass. When upgraded and infused appropriately, this warhammer achieves solid damage while maintaining rapid attack speed. It accepts ashes of war and can be modified with any affinity, allowing comprehensive customization. Against heavily armored enemies, the Warpick significantly outperforms swords or axes, its design specifically addressing the armor problem. Medieval warfare saw widespread Warpick adoption for exactly this reason, their ability to defeat plate mail making them essential equipment. Some players appreciate the Warpick specifically because its historically grounded design provides authentic medieval combat experience, using weapons actual soldiers relied upon. The simple elegance of solving the armor problem through concentrated force rather than increased power demonstrates sophisticated engineering understanding. Not every innovation requires complexity. Sometimes the best solution is straightforward physics applied cleverly. The ringed finger's grotesque theology. Among the most disturbing weapons in the lands between, the ringed finger consists of a severed finger roughly the size of a person, covered in metal rings and somehow still animated. You can find this colossal weapon in specific locations associated with the 3 fingers and the frenzied flame. The ringed finger requires 20 strength, 15 dexterity, and 26 faith, with the faith requirement being astronomical for a grotesque finger-like weapon. This disturbing armament deals strike damage through its clubbing attacks, the massive digit swinging with surprising force. Its unique skill, claw flick, causes the finger to flick forward with explosive force, launching you through the air toward enemies in spectacular diving attack. The weapon scales with strength, dexterity, and faith, while building up madness on struck enemies, the yellow frenzy effect accumulating with each hit. When the madness meter fills, targets take massive damage and temporarily lose the ability to act, stumbling in confusion. Against enemies vulnerable to madness, the ringed finger becomes incredibly effective, combining solid physical damage with devastating status buildup. The weapon's very existence raises disturbing questions about whose finger it was and how it grew to such enormous size. Some theorize it belongs to one of the three fingers themselves, severed somehow and left as grotesque relic. Using this weapon feels transgressive, wielding sacred body part as crude bludgeon. The theological implications are uncomfortable, suggesting that even divine beings can be desecrated and repurposed. Some players specifically seek the ringed finger for maximum absurdity, the cognitive dissonance of beating bosses to death with a giant finger providing endless amusement. The giant seal's primal invocations. While technically a sacred seal rather than weapon, the giant seal deserves mention for how it transforms incantation builds. This seal requires 20 strength, 14 faith, and 0 dexterity, unusual requirements demanding physical might. The giant seal specifically enhances giant's flame incantations, boosting damage of those fire-based spells by a flat percentage. You can find this seal in specific locations associated with the fire giants and their faith. When using giant's flame incantations while holding this seal, your spell damage increases noticeably. The seal's blessing amplifying your connection to ancient fire worship. The seal scales with strength and faith simultaneously, rewarding builds that invest in both attributes. This makes the giant seal ideal for warrior priests who maintain substantial melee capability while still casting incantations against enemies, opening with giant's flame. Incantations for burst damage before closing to melee range creates effective combat rhythm. The seal's existence suggests the fire giants possess sophisticated theological understanding, their faith producing implements that enhance religious practices. Some players specifically build around the giant seal, creating characters dedicated to giant slaying irony by using the giant's own faith against their killers. The seal channels primordial fire that predates the Erd Tree, representing religious traditions the Golden Order tried desperately to erase. The Dragon Communion seal's draconic power. When the Dragon Communion Church teaches you to consume dragon hearts for power, they provide a sacred seal specifically designed for channeling that stolen might. The Dragon Communion seal requires 10 strength, 10 dexterity, and 10 faith. Minimal requirements allowing nearly anyone to attempt Dragon Communion. This seal specifically enhances Dragon Communion incantations, boosting damage of those draconic spells. You can find the Dragon Communion seal purchased from specific merchants associated with dragon worship. When using Dragon Communion incantations while holding this seal, your spell damage increases noticeably, the seal channeling draconic essence more efficiently. The seal scales primarily with arcane rather than faith, unusual for sacred implements but fitting given Dragon Communion's transgressive nature. This makes the Dragon Communion seal ideal for arcane builds who want access to powerful incantations without investing heavily in faith. Against enemies, opening combat with dragon breath attacks before following up with melee strikes creates devastating combinations. The seal's existence suggests the Dragon Communion Church possesses deep understanding of how to channel draconic power through human vessels. Some players specifically build around this seal, creating characters dedicated to draconic transformation through consuming multiple dragon hearts. The seal channels power stolen from slain dragons, representing humanity's attempt to claim divine might through consumption and desecration. The Erdtree seal's golden blessing. Among sacred seals, the Erdtree seal represents the Golden Order's official implement for channeling divine power. This seal features the Erdtree symbol prominently, marking it as orthodox religious tool. You can obtain the Erdtree seal relatively early, purchased from Brother Corin, or found in specific locations. The seal requires 8 faith and nothing else. Accessible requirements allowing quick adoption of incantation casting. What makes the Erdtree seal special is its balanced scaling. It doesn't enhance specific incantation schools, but instead provides solid baseline effectiveness across all spells. When upgraded fully, the Erdtree seal achieves the highest incantation scaling of any seal at 60+ faith investment, making it endgame best in slot for pure faith builds. The seal scales exclusively with faith, rewarding dedicated investment in that single attribute. Against enemies, using the Erdtree seal feels orthodox and proper, channeling power through officially sanctioned channels, rather than heretical alternatives. The golden construction and Erdtree imagery make this seal visually match other Golden Order equipment, perfect for fashion-focused builds. Some players appreciate the Erdtree seal specifically because its straightforward scaling and broad effectiveness make it a reliable choice that works with any incantation. The seal represents the Golden Order at its most theologically pure, faith channeled through approved doctrine, rather than heterodox alternatives. The Clawmark seal's bestial devotion, Beast Clergyman Gurung, teaches ancient incantations connected to primordial beast worship, faith that predates the Erdtree's dominance. The Clawmark seal channels this bestial power, featuring claw-like design elements. You can obtain this seal from Gurung after feeding him Deathroot, the seal functioning as reward for aiding his mysterious purposes. The seal requires 4 strength, 4 dexterity, and 10 faith, unusual requirements demanding physical attributes alongside religious devotion. What makes the Clawmark seal unique is its dual scaling. It increases incantation power based on both strength and faith simultaneously. This makes it ideal for warrior priests who invest heavily in strength for melee weapons, but still want viable incantation damage. The seal specifically enhances bestial incantations, boosting damage of those primal spells. When using bestial incantations while holding the Clawmark seal, you channel ancient power that the Golden Order considers savage and unrefined. Against enemies, combining bestial incantations with heavy melee weapons creates effective hybrid combat style. The seal's existence suggests beast worship possessed sophisticated theological framework, their faith producing implements that enhance religious practices. Some players specifically build around the Clawmark seal, creating characters dedicated to bestial transformation and primal power. The seal channels faith older than civilization, representing religious traditions that existed before humanity built cities and established hierarchies. The gravel stone seals ancient dragons. Ancient dragons commanded lightning and storms long before the Erdtree rose to dominance, their faith producing unique theological traditions. The gravel stone seal channels this draconic power, featuring scale-like texture and lightning motifs. You can find this seal in Lendel's depths, hidden away but not destroyed despite representing theological alternatives to Golden Order orthodoxy. The seal requires 14 strength, 0 dexterity, and 22 faith, demanding religious devotion and physical might. What makes the gravel stone seal special is its specific enhancement of dragon cult incantations, boosting damage of those lightning-based spells. When using dragon cult incantations while holding this seal, You channel the power ancient dragons commanded before their civilization fell. The seal scales with strength and faith, rewarding builds that invest in both attributes. Against enemies, opening with lightning strikes before closing to melee range creates devastating combinations. The battlefield lit by sacred storms. The seal's existence suggests the dragon cult possessed sophisticated understanding of how to channel draconic power through human vessels. Some players specifically build around the gravelstone seal, creating characters dedicated to ancient dragon worship and storm-calling power. The seal channels faith that predates human civilization, representing religious traditions that acknowledge dragons as divine beings worthy of worship rather than resources to exploit. The frenzied flame seals maddening fire. When you embrace the frenzied flame and accept its three-fingered blessing, you gain access to the frenzied flame seal, implement for channeling yellow madness fire. This seal features disturbing design elements, including fingerprints and chaos flame motifs. You can obtain this seal after accepting the frenzied flame from the three fingers beneath Lendel. The seal requires 10 strength, 10 dexterity, and 14 faith. Moderate requirements for a seal representing cosmic madness. What makes the frenzied flame seal unique is its specific enhancement of frenzied flame incantations, boosting damage of those madness-inflicting spells. When using frenzied flame incantations while holding this seal, you channel the chaotic power that seeks to melt all distinction and return everything to primordial oneness. The seal scales with strength, dexterity, and faith, rewarding diverse stat investments. Against enemies, inflicting madness through incantations before they can close distance creates effective defensive strategy. Targets stumbling in confusion before reaching you. The seal's existence suggests the frenzied flame possessed theological framework, however aberrant its goals. Some players specifically build around this seal for madness-focused builds, creating characters dedicated to spreading chaos and ending the tyranny of distinction. The seal channels power that terrifies every other faction, representing ultimate religious transgression that seeks to unmake reality itself. Using it feels dangerous, channeling forces that might destroy you as easily as they destroy enemies. The Golden Order seals refined faith. The Golden Order's most advanced theological scholars developed incantations representing their faith's pinnacle achievements. The Golden Order seal channels these refined spells, featuring intricate design that speaks to sophisticated understanding. You can find this seal in specific locations associated with advanced Golden Order study. The seal requires 17 strength, 0 dexterity, and 17 faith, balanced requirements demanding both might and devotion. What makes the Golden Order seal special is its dual scaling. It increases incantation power based on both intelligence and faith simultaneously. This makes it ideal for characters investing in both stats, typically those pursuing fundamentalist builds that blend sorcery and miracles. The seal specifically enhances Golden Order incantations, boosting damage of those refined spells. When using Golden Order incantations while holding the seal, you channel the most advanced theological understanding the Golden Order achieved. Against enemies, combining Golden Order incantations with both sorceries and other incantations creates a versatile combat approach. The seal's existence suggests the Golden Order's theological development reached heights most cannot appreciate. their faith producing implements that required exceptional scholarly dedication. Some players specifically build around the Golden Order seal for maximum versatility, creating characters who master multiple magical disciplines simultaneously. The seal channels refined faith that represents centuries of theological development, religious understanding elevated to art form through dedicated scholarship. The Godslayer's seal's black flame. Long before the current age, the gloam-eyed queen led apostles who slew gods using black flame that could kill even immortal beings. The Godslayer's seal channels this power, featuring dark design elements and flame motifs. You can find this seal in specific locations associated with the godskins and their terrifying faith. The seal requires 4 strength, 4 dexterity, and 27 faith. Extremely high faith requirement for a seal representing heretical religion. What makes the Godslayer's seal unique is its specific enhancement of godskin incantations, boosting damage of those black flame spells. When using godskin incantations while holding this seal, you channel power designed specifically to end divine existence, black flames burning through immortality itself. The seal scales primarily with faith, rewarding dedicated investment in that attribute. Against enemies, opening with black flame incantations that deal percentage-based damage proves especially effective against high health bosses. The seal's existence proves the gloam-eyed queen's faith was sophisticated enough to produce implements that enhance religious practices, even if those practices terrified established powers. Some players specifically build around the Godslayer's seal for thematic runs dedicated to destroying every god in the lands between. The seal channels power that threatens the fundamental order, representing ultimate heresy that claims even gods can and should die when their time comes. The Staff of Loss's death sorceries. Among glintstone staffs, the Staff of Loss specializes in channeling death-aspected sorceries with enhanced power. This staff features skull imagery and dark design elements reflecting its morbid specialty. You can find the Staff of Loss in Celia, town of sorcery, hidden in the ruins. The staff requires 10 strength, 0 dexterity, and 14 intelligence, moderate requirements for a specialized catalyst. What makes this staff unique is its specific enhancement of invisibility sorceries and night sorceries, boosting damage and effectiveness of those spell schools. When using enhanced sorceries while holding the Staff of Loss, your spells benefit from increased power that makes the specialization worthwhile. The staff scales exclusively with intelligence, rewarding dedicated investment in that attribute. Against enemies, opening with invisible blade sorceries or night comet spells proves especially effective when they cannot see your attacks coming. The staff's existence suggests someone in Celia developed deep understanding of death-aspected magic, their research producing implements that channeled specific spell schools more effectively. Some players specifically build around the Staff of Loss for stealth mage builds, combining invisible sorceries with night spells for maximum surprise. The staff channels understanding of death as magical element rather than merely endpoint, studying mortality as power to harness rather than fate to fear. The Carrion Regal Scepter's royal legacy. When Renola ruled as queen of the Carrion royal family, she wielded a staff of tremendous power that amplified her sorcerous might. The Carrion Regal Scepter represents this royal implement, obtainable by trading Renala's remembrance after defeating her. This staff requires 8 strength, 0 dexterity, and 60 intelligence. Astronomical intelligence requirement marking it as true master's catalyst. What makes the Kyrian Regal Scepter special is its exceptional sorcery scaling at high intelligence levels, eventually surpassing even Lusat's glintstone staff once you reach 68+ intelligence. The staff specifically enhances Kyrian sword sorceries and moon sorceries, boosting damage of those spell schools. When using enhanced sorceries while holding this scepter, you channel the same royal power Renala commanded at her height. The staff scales exclusively with intelligence, rewarding maximum investment in that single attribute. Against enemies, the Kyrian Regal Scepter transforms you into glass cannon capable of obliterating targets through pure sorcerous might. Its elegant design and Kyrian royal connection make it visually perfect for sorcerer builds focused on aristocratic magic rather than scholarly research. Some players specifically pursue the Kyrian Regal Scepter because defeating Renala and claiming her implement feels like significant achievement, earning the right to wield royal power. The scepter channels centuries of Kyrian magical tradition, representing accumulated knowledge of an entire dynasty. The Lusat's glintstone staff's unbound power. Lusat, one of the founding sorcerers of Raya Lucaria, pursued magical research without concern for personal cost or sustainability. The Lusat's glintstone staff embodies this philosophy, channeling tremendous power at significant expense. You can find this staff in Celia, town of sorcery, near Lusat's crystallized form. The staff requires 10 strength, 0 dexterity, and 52 intelligence. Massive intelligence requirement for a catalyst. What makes Lusat's staff unique is its exceptional sorcery scaling that exceeds nearly every other staff, combined with crippling drawback. All sorceries cost 50% more FP when cast through this implement. This creates glass cannon playstyle where your spells hit devastatingly hard but burn through your FP pool at alarming rate. The staff scales exclusively with intelligence, rewarding maximum investment in that attribute. Against enemies, using Lusat's staff means every spell counts double in both damage and cost. Combat becoming resource management challenge as much as a mechanical execution. The staff's existence reflects Lusat's ultimate fate. He pushed magical research so far, he crystallized completely, his body transforming into glintstone. Some players specifically build around Lusat's staff for maximum damage builds that accept the FP cost as necessary sacrifice for overwhelming power. The staff channels unbound magical ambition, representing research pursued without practical concerns until the scholar himself becomes experiment. The Azur's glintstone staff's sustained assault. Azur, founding sorcerer alongside Lusat, pursued different magical philosophy, focused on sustained casting rather than burst power. The Azur's glintstone staff embodies this approach, reducing casting time for all sorceries. You can find this staff near Azur's crystallized form in Mount Gelmir. The staff required 10 strength, 0 dexterity, and 52 intelligence, matching Lusat's requirements. What makes Azur's staff special is its unique property. All sorceries cast through this implement have reduced casting time, allowing you to launch spells faster than normal. This doesn't increase damage, but improves DPS through accelerated cast speed. The staff scales exclusively with intelligence, rewarding dedicated investment. Against enemies, the faster casting allows aggressive mage playstyle, where you can launch multiple spells before targets close distance. The sustained magical assault overwhelming defenses through volume rather than individual power. The staff's existence reflects Azur's fate. Like Lusar, he crystallized from pushing magical research beyond safe limits. Some players specifically combine Azur's staff with Radagon's icon and other cast speed enhancers, creating machine gun mages who launch spells with minimal delay. The staff channels Azur's philosophy that sustained pressure defeats enemies as effectively as overwhelming force, patience and volume triumphing through accumulated damage. The Meteorite Staff's cosmic mystery. Among all catalysts in Elden Ring, the Meteorite Staff stands unique for being completely unupgradable, yet remaining powerful throughout the game. This staff appears to be crafted from actual meteorite material, petrified fragment of fallen star. You can find the Meteorite Staff in Kalid's Swamp of Aeonia, accessible very early if you brave the high-level area. The staff requires 6 strength, 0 dexterity, and 18 intelligence, low requirements allowing quick adoption. What makes this staff exceptional is its natural S scaling in intelligence from the moment you find it, providing tremendous spell damage without any upgrades. Additionally, it enhances gravity, sorceries, boosting damage of those cosmic spells. When using gravity sorceries while holding the Meteorite Staff, you channel stellar power through crystallized star fragment, your spells hitting significantly harder. The staff's inability to upgrade eventually limits it, other catalysts surpassing it once fully enhanced. But that transition doesn't occur until very late game. Against enemies in early and mid-game, the Meteorite Staff trivializes magical combat, its S scaling providing damage that shouldn't be accessible at that point. The staff's existence as an upgradable meteor fragment suggests it's already complete, petrified in perfect form by cosmic forces. Some players specifically use the Meteorite Staff for entire playthroughs, its unique properties and early availability, creating attachment that survives discovering technically superior alternatives. The Academy Glintstone Staff's scholarly standard. At Raya Lucaria Academy, students and scholars use standardized implements designed for reliable performance across various sorcery schools. The Academy Glintstone Staff represents this practical approach. Balanced catalyst without specialization. You can purchase this staff from Thops, or find it on corpses throughout Leonia. The staff requires 6 strength, 0 dexterity, and 28 intelligence, moderate requirements allowing mid-game adoption. What makes the Academy staff appealing is its balanced nature. It doesn't enhance specific spell schools, but provides solid baseline effectiveness across all sorceries. When upgraded fully, the Academy Glintstone Staff achieves competitive sorcery scaling for intelligence investments between 40-60, making it viable for entire playthrough. The staff scales exclusively with intelligence, rewarding dedicated investment in that attribute. Against enemies, using the Academy staff feels scholarly and proper. Your spells channeled through implement, designed by magical institution, rather than individual, eccentric researcher. The standardized design suggests Raya Lucaria developed production methods for reliable catalyst manufacturing, prioritizing consistency over exceptional performance. Some players appreciate the Academy Glintstone Staff specifically because its balanced scaling works with any spell. No need to switch staffs when changing sorcery schools. The staff represents magical education at its most pragmatic. teaching students to master fundamentals before pursuing specialization. The Demi-Human Queen Staff's savage magic. Demi-humans possess rudimentary magical capabilities often overlooked by human sorcerers who consider them primitive. The Demi-Human Queen Staff challenges these assumptions, proving these creatures command genuine magical power. You can obtain this staff by defeating demi-human queens who wield it, dropped randomly when you defeat them. The staff requires 6 strength, 0 dexterity, and 10 intelligence, extremely low intelligence requirement, allowing very early adoption. What makes this staff unique is its exceptional scaling at low intelligence levels, actually providing better sorcery scaling than most staves when you have 20-30 intelligence. This creates unusual build option, where you invest minimally in intelligence but still achieve solid spell damage through this staff's front-loaded scaling. The staff's scaling eventually falls behind as your intelligence rises above 40, other catalysts surpassing it, but that transition happens far later than expected. Against enemies in early game, the Demi-Human Queen Staff allows effective magical combat, even when your intelligence sits barely above minimum requirements. The staff's existence proves demi-humans possess sophisticated understanding of sorcery despite their savage appearance and primitive society. Some players specifically use this staff for low intelligence builds that want access to utility sorceries without heavy stat investment, the unusual scaling making it viable for unusual character concepts. The staff channels raw, unrefined magical power that doesn't require scholarly understanding, instinct triumphing over education. The Digger's Staff's laborer's magic. Not all who practice magic are scholars or nobility. The Digger's Staff represents the working-class sorcerer, implement designed for practical application rather than research. You can find this staff on corpses in various mining locations, its presence suggesting laborers used sorcery for their work. The staff requires 6 strength, 0 dexterity, and 10 intelligence. Low requirements allowing anyone to attempt magical practice. When wielded, the Digger's Staff provides modest sorcery scaling appropriate for its humble nature, never competing with academic implements, but serving adequately for simple spells. The staff can be upgraded with smithing stones, improving gradually, but never reaching exceptional heights. Against enemies, using the Digger's Staff feels authentic. Your magic channeled through tool designed for labor rather than combat. The staff's existence proves sorcery serves practical purposes beyond warfare and research, miners and laborers finding magical applications for their daily tasks. Some players appreciate the Digger's Staff specifically because its humble origins provide working-class hero narrative, rejecting prestigious academy implements for tools actual laborers wielded. The staff represents magical democratization, power accessible beyond aristocracy and scholarly institutions, proving anyone can learn to channel arcane forces if they possess will and need. The Carian Glintstone Staff's noble heritage. The Carian royal family developed unique sorcerous traditions distinct from Raya Lucaria's academic approach, their magic emphasizing moonlight and sword sorceries. The Carian Glintstone Staff channels this noble magic, featuring design elements reflecting royal aesthetics. You can find this staff in various locations associated with Carian territory. The staff requires 6 strength, 0 dexterity, and 24 intelligence, moderate requirements for a royal implement. What makes the Carian staff appealing is its balanced nature combined with slightly enhanced scaling for carrion sword sorceries, providing incentive to specialize without crippling general use. When upgraded fully, the carrion glintstone staff achieves solid sorcery scaling for mid-range intelligence investments, making it viable for substantial portions of the game. Against enemies, using sword sorceries with this staff creates effective battle mage approach, your spells manifesting as magical blades rather than projectiles. The royal connection and elegant design make this staff popular for fashion-focused builds emphasizing carrion heritage. Some players specifically pursue the carrion glintstone staff because its moderate specialization allows focused builds without abandoning versatility entirely, the balanced approach matching their playstyle. The staff channels noble tradition that views magic as aristocratic birthright rather than scholarly achievement, power inherited rather than learned. The glintstone staff's beginner's implement. Every sorcerer begins somewhere, and the basic glintstone staff represents that starting point. This simple catalyst provides entry-level access to sorcery without pretension or specialization. You can purchase the glintstone staff from Sorceress Selene, or find it on corpses, its commonality making it easily accessible. The staff requires 5 strength, 0 dexterity, and 10 intelligence, minimal requirements allowing anyone to attempt magical practice. When wielded, this staff provides modest sorcery scaling appropriate for beginners, adequate for learning fundamentals before pursuing advanced catalysts. The staff can be upgraded with smithing stones, improving gradually but eventually being outpaced by specialized alternatives. Against enemies in early areas, the glintstone staff serves adequately, your spells dealing sufficient damage for Limgrave and Liurnia encounters. The staff's simplicity is its strength, offering no distractions from mastering spell timing and FP management. Some players specifically maintain their starting glintstone staff throughout entire playthroughs for sentimental reasons, the implement accompanying them from confused beginner to Elden Lord. The staff represents the democratization of magic, power accessible to anyone willing to learn regardless of noble birth or academic affiliation. Every great sorcerer once wielded this humble implement. Their journey beginning with simple glintstone focusing minimal magical potential. The Prince of Death's staff's forbidden knowledge. Those who live in death exist in grotesque state between life and death, their corruption producing unique magical traditions. The Prince of Death's staff channels this deathly power, requiring mastery of both intelligence and faith simultaneously. You can find this staff in specific locations associated with those who live in death. The staff requires 6 strength, 0 dexterity, 18 intelligence, and 18 faith, unusual requirements demanding dual magical mastery. What makes this staff unique is its scaling. It gains power from both intelligence and faith, rewarding balanced investment in both attributes. When you reach high levels in both stats, the Prince of Death's staff achieves exceptional sorcery scaling that rivals or exceeds single stat catalysts. This makes it ideal for characters pursuing death sorceries while maintaining access to incantations. Against enemies, combining death sorceries with holy incantations creates versatile combat approach that addresses multiple enemy weaknesses. The staff's existence suggests those who live in death possess sophisticated magical understanding despite their corrupted state. Some players specifically build around this staff for Death Knight concepts, combining death sorceries with faith-based melee buffs. The staff channels power that bridges life and death, studying the liminal space where both states corrupt into something new. The Albinauric staff's arcane sorcery. Albinaurics possess innate magical capabilities tied to arcane rather than intelligence. Their unnatural creation producing unique properties. The Albinauric staff channels this aberrant power, scaling with arcane instead of intelligence. You can find this staff on Albinauric sorcerers throughout Liurnia and consecrated snowfield. The staff requires 6 strength, 0 dexterity, and 7 intelligence. Minimal intelligence requirement, suggesting it functions through different principles. What makes the Albinauric staff unique is its arcane scaling. Unlike every other staff that scales with intelligence, this catalyst gains power from arcane investment. This creates unusual build option, where you can cast sorceries effectively while building primarily for status, effects through arcane. The staff's scaling reaches competitive levels once you invest heavily in arcane, making it viable for specialized builds. Against enemies, combining sorceries with arcane scaling weapons creates builds that excel at both direct damage and status accumulation. The staff's existence proves Albinaurics command genuine magical power, despite being artificial creations rather than natural beings. Some players specifically use the Albinauric staff for hybrid builds that want sorcery access, without abandoning arcane focus, the unusual scaling enabling otherwise impossible character concepts. The staff channels power that shouldn't exist. Artificial beings wielding magic through unnatural methods that defy conventional understanding of how sorcery functions. The Uchigatana's timeless edge. Among katanas, the Uchigatana represents the classic design that's appeared in nearly every From Software title. This curved blade offers balanced performance across all metrics, while naturally building blood loss. You start with the Uchigatana if you choose Samurai class, or find it on corpses in Limgrave. The weapon requires 10 strength and 15 dexterity. Accessible requirements allowing early adoption. What makes the Uchigatana special isn't exceptional damage, but perfect balance. Adequate speed, solid reach, respectable damage, and innate blood loss buildup. The weapon accepts Ashes of War and can be infused with any affinity, providing complete customization flexibility. When 2 Uchigatanas are power stanced together, you create one of the game's most effective dual-wielding combinations. The rapid attacks building blood loss at alarming speed. Against enemies vulnerable to hemorrhage, dual Uchigatanas trivialize encounters through rapid blood loss procs that deal percentage-based damage. The katana's simple elegance appeals to players who want reliable effectiveness without gimmicks or specialized mechanics. Veterans specifically gravitate toward the Uchigatana because its moveset feels familiar from previous titles, muscle memory translating perfectly. The weapon represents Eastern blade craftsmanship at its most refined, generations of smithing knowledge distilled into balanced form that excels through harmonious design rather than exceptional individual attributes. The serpent bone blade's poison edge, deep in the sainted hero's grave, a unique katana waits among the coffins, its blade designed to inflict deadly venom. The serpent bone blade builds up poison with every strike, the toxic edge coating enemies in lethal substances. You can find this katana by navigating the treacherous catacombs, avoiding or defeating the numerous traps and guardians. The weapon requires 11 strength and 22 dexterity, standard katana requirements. What makes the serpent bone blade unique is its innate poison buildup combined with its special heavy attack. When charged, the blade performs a double slash that hits twice in rapid succession, building massive poison buildup. This makes it exceptional for inflicting poison status quickly. The weapon cannot be infused with different ashes of war or affinities, forever locked into its poison-dealing function. When upgraded with smithing stones, the serpent bone blade achieves solid damage while maintaining the poison buildup that defines it. Against enemies vulnerable to poison, this katana devastates through sustained damage over time. The toxic effect eating health while you maintain safe distance. The serpent motif suggests connections to the serpent-worshipping faith, or possibly the god-devouring serpent itself. Some players specifically seek the serpent bone blade for poison builds that stack multiple toxic effects, creating characters that kill through accumulated venom rather than direct damage. The blade represents assassination through subtlety, patient application of poison ultimately proving more effective than immediate force. The dragon scale blade's storm calling. Ancient dragons commanded lightning and storms, their power sometimes transferred to weapons through unknown processes. The dragon scale blade channels this draconic might, a katana imbued with lightning that calls storms. You can obtain this unique katana by completing specific quest lines or finding it in locations associated with dragon worship. The weapon requires 12 strength and 20 dexterity, standard requirements for katanas. What makes the dragon scale blade special is its unique weapon skill. Activating it causes lightning to strike enemies around you, while buffing the blade with electricity. The combination of crowd control and self-enhancement proving devastating. The blade deals physical and lightning damage simultaneously, effective against enemies vulnerable to either type. It cannot be infused with different ashes of war, locked into its storm-calling function. When upgraded fully, the dragon scale blade achieves respectable damage while maintaining the lightning properties that make it memorable. Against groups of enemies, activating the storm skill clears crowds through repeated lightning strikes, while empowering your subsequent attacks. The dragon scale design and electric properties link this weapon to ancient dragon worship traditions. Some players specifically pursue the dragon scale blade for storm warrior builds, combining it with lightning incantations and electric talismans for complete thematic unity. The blade channels power that dragons once commanded freely, storms bending to the weapon's will as they once obeyed draconic authority. The Moonveil's instant draw. From the distant land of reeds came the legendary Moonveil katana, a weapon imbued with cold moonlight magic. This blade became infamous in Elden Ring's early months for utterly dominating player versus player combat through its nearly instant death beam attack. You can obtain Moonveil by defeating the Magma Worm boss in Gale Tunnel. The weapon requires 12 strength, 18 dexterity, and 23 intelligence, unusual requirements demanding magical knowledge. What made Moonveil notorious was its weapon skill, transient moonlight. Activating it creates a quick draw slash that releases a blade of moonlight, the beam traveling at incredible speed and dealing massive damage. This skill could kill players in PvP before they could react, its speed and power creating widespread frustration. From Software eventually nerfed Moonveil multiple times, reducing damage and increasing the skill's FP cost. Even after nerfs, the weapon remains effective for intelligence builds wanting strong melee damage alongside sorcerer's power. The blade deals physical and magic damage, scaling with dexterity and intelligence. Against enemies, the quick draw beam provides excellent burst damage for opening encounters or punishing mistakes. The lunar design and magic properties make Moonveil visually distinctive, its blade glowing with cold light. Some players still specifically seek Moonveil despite its controversial history, the weapon representing peak performance even after multiple balance adjustments. The meteoric ore blade's gravity draw. When meteors fall from the sky, their ore possesses unique properties including gravity manipulation capabilities. The meteoric ore blade incorporates this cosmic material, creating a katana that can pull enemies toward the wielder. You can find this weapon in Caelid's underground areas, hidden among the scarlet rot corruption. The weapon requires 15 strength, 14 dexterity, and 18 intelligence, unusual requirements for a katana. What makes the meteoric ore blade unique is its weapon skill gravitas, which creates a gravitational pull that draws enemies toward you before unleashing a powerful slam. This crowd control followed by burst damage makes it effective for handling groups. The blade deals physical and magic damage, scaling with strength, dexterity, and intelligence. Against enemies, pulling them into melee range with gravitas creates opportunities for follow-up combos. The meteoric ore construction gives the blade distinctive purple-grey coloration that sets it apart visually. When upgraded with smithing stones, the meteoric ore blade achieves solid damage while maintaining the gravity properties that define it. Some players specifically build around this weapon for cosmic warrior concepts, combining it with gravity sorceries and celestial-themed equipment. The blade channels power from beyond the world, meteors that fell from space now serving as implements of war through human ingenuity that repurposes cosmic materials. The Hand of Millennia's waterfowl dance. Millennia, Blade of Miquella, stands as one of Elden Ring's most challenging bosses, wielding a katana that channels her devastating fighting style. The Hand of Millennia can only be obtained by defeating Millennia herself and trading her remembrance, claiming the weapon that defined one of gaming's most difficult encounters. This legendary katana requires 16 strength and 48 dexterity, astronomical dexterity requirement marking it as ultimate finesse weapon. What makes the Hand of Millennia notorious is its weapon skill waterfowl dance. Activating it causes you to leap into the air before unleashing the same multi-hit aerial assault that killed countless players during Millennia's boss fight. This skill hits multiple times in rapid succession, building massive damage and blood loss if all hits connect. The blade deals pure physical damage with exceptional dexterity scaling, rewarding maximum investment in that attribute. When fully upgraded, the Hand of Millennia achieves some of the highest attack ratings available to katanas through its superior scaling. Against enemies, successfully landing a full waterfowl dance utterly devastates. The combination of numerous hits and bleed build up shredding health bars. The blade's elegant design and Millennia's legendary status make it trophy weapon that players proudly display. Using this katana feels like channeling Millennia's own deadly grace, her signature technique now yours to command. the student surpassing the teacher by claiming the master's weapon. The Rejuvia's blood magic. In the early minutes of Elden Ring's Limgrave, a bloody finger invader named Neregus attacks near Murkwater Cave, wielding twin daggers that throw blood blades. Defeating this invader grants you Rejuvia, one of the game's earliest unique weapons. This dagger requires 5 strength and 13 dexterity, minimal requirements allowing immediate use after defeating Neregus. What makes Rejuvia special is its weapon skill, Rejuvia Blood Blade. Activating it throws a blade of blood that deals damage and builds blood loss on distant enemies, providing rare ranged options for dagger users. The blade naturally builds blood loss through melee attacks as well, making it effective for hemorrhage-focused builds. It cannot be infused with different ashes of war, locked into its blood blade function. When upgraded with somber smithing stones, Rejuvia achieves solid damage for a dagger while maintaining the blood loss that defines it. Against enemies, opening with thrown blood blades before closing to melee range creates effective combat rhythm. The blood red coloration and crimson effects make Rejuvia visually distinctive among daggers. Some players specifically pursue dual-wielding 2 Rejuvia daggers, the combination creating rapid blood loss build-up through both melee and ranged attacks. The weapon represents assassination through accumulated hemorrhage, patience and precision, ultimately proving more effective than overwhelming force, as blood loss procs delete enemy health bars regardless of defense stats. The Black Knife's Destined Death Fragment. The Black Knife assassins who murdered Godwyn the Golden on the night of Black Knives wielded unique daggers imbued with fragments of destined death. You can claim one of these legendary weapons by defeating Black Knife assassins who wield them or finding it in specific locations. The Black Knife requires 8 strength and 12 dexterity, accessible requirements for such a significant weapon. What makes this dagger special is its weapon skill, Blade of Death. Activating it imbues the blade with destined death energy before executing a powerful slash that reduces enemy maximum HP temporarily. One of the few effects that actually shrinks health bars rather than merely dealing damage. The blade deals pure physical damage through melee attacks, but the death-reducing effect makes it devastating against high-health bosses. Against enemies, the HP reduction from Blade of Death can make impossible encounters manageable by literally shrinking enemy health pools to more reasonable levels. The sleek design and association with history's most infamous assassination make the Black Knife iconic. When upgraded with somber smithing stones, this dagger achieves respectable damage while maintaining the death properties that define it. Some players specifically use the Black Knife for assassin builds focused on stealth and single target burst damage, the weapon's lore making it perfect for that playstyle. The blade channels the same power that killed a demigod. Fragments of destined death that the Golden Order tried desperately to seal away now yours to wield against their champions. The Blade of Calling's sacred light. Among the holy weapons scattered throughout the lands between, the Blade of Calling represents faith made manifest in dagger form. This weapon glows with golden light, its edge blessed by powers that consider it sacred instrument. You can find the Blade of Calling in specific locations associated with divine worship. The dagger requires 10 strength, 10 dexterity, and 14 faith. Balanced requirements demanding religious devotion. What makes this blade unique is its innate holy damage. Every strike deals physical and holy damage simultaneously, making it particularly effective against undead enemies. The weapon's unique skill calls down pillars of light that damage and knock back enemies, the divine intervention providing both offense and defense. Against undead enemies particularly vulnerable to holy damage, the Blade of Calling devastates through its split damage types, hitting different defensive stats. When upgraded with somber smithing stones, this dagger achieves solid damage while maintaining the holy properties that define it. The golden construction and religious iconography make the Blade of Calling visually match other Golden Order equipment. Some players specifically pursue this weapon for holy assassin builds, combining stealth with divine judgment. The blade represents faith wielded not through massive miracles, but quick, surgical applications of blessed violence, proving that even daggers can channel the god's authority when properly consecrated. The Glintstone Chris's arcane edge. Among magic-infused weapons, the Glintstone Chris represents sorcery channeled through dagger form rather than staff. This blade features glintstone crystals embedded in its construction, the magical materials enhancing its properties. You can find the Glintstone Chris purchased from merchants or on corpses in Liurnia. The dagger requires 5 strength, 16 dexterity, and 16 intelligence, requiring magical knowledge alongside physical skill. What makes this blade appealing is its innate magic damage. Every strike deals physical and magic damage simultaneously. The weapon can be infused with Ashes of War and modified with various affinities, despite having innate magic damage. Unusual flexibility. When upgraded and built properly with magic affinity, the Glintstone Chris achieves solid damage for intelligence builds wanting viable melee options. Against enemies weak to magic damage, this dagger proves more effective than pure physical alternatives. The glintstone construction and sorceress design link this weapon to Raya Lucaria's magical traditions. Some players appreciate the Glintstone Chris specifically because it allows mage characters to maintain respectable melee damage while investing primarily in intelligence for spells. The blade represents the logical conclusion of battle mage philosophy. Even your backup weapon should leverage your primary stat. Every tool optimized for your build rather than forcing attribute investments outside your focus. The Great Knife's reliable simplicity. Not every weapon requires mystical properties or legendary provenance. The Great Knife represents simple, effective design executed well. A large dagger optimized for killing. You can purchase this weapon from merchants or find it on corpses throughout the world. The dagger requires 7 strength and 12 dexterity, minimal requirements allowing quick adoption. What makes the Great Knife appealing is its lack of gimmicks. It stabs quickly, deals solid damage for a dagger, weighs very little, and accepts any compatible Ash of War. This blank canvas allows complete customization, transforming the Great Knife into whatever tool your build demands. When upgraded and infused appropriately, this dagger achieves respectable damage while maintaining the rapid attack speed that makes daggers effective. Against enemies, the Great Knife's versatility means you can adapt it to handle specific weaknesses through proper Ash of War selection. Its simple elegance appeals to players who want effectiveness without complexity. The weapon's ubiquity suggests widespread adoption across the lands between. Its design proven effective enough to become standard equipment. Some players specifically use the Great Knife throughout entire playthroughs, appreciating that reliable performance often matters more than unique mechanics. The dagger proves that sometimes the best tools are the simplest ones executed well. Generations of refinement creating balanced design that requires no justification beyond working effectively. The Quinquidea's Beast Incantations. Among daggers, the Quinquidea stands out for boosting beast incantation power, despite being a melee weapon. This broad-bladed dagger features unique design elements, suggesting beast worship connections. You can find the Quinquidea in Bestial Sanctum after progressing certain quest lines. The weapon requires 10 strength and 10 dexterity, minimal requirements for such a significant dagger. What makes the Quinquidea unique is its passive effect. Merely having it equipped boosts beast incantation damage by a flat percentage, functioning even when sheathed. This makes it essential equipment for faith builds focused on bestial incantations, the dagger providing passive damage boost without requiring active use. The blade can be upgraded and infused with Ashes of War, allowing customization beyond its beast-boosting function. When properly built, the Quinquidea achieves acceptable damage for a dagger while maintaining the passive boost that makes it valuable. Against enemies, opening with beast incantations before closing to melee range creates effective hybrid combat. The beast motifs and Bestial Sanctum location link this weapon to Gurranq and his ancient faith. Some players specifically keep the Quinquidea equipped purely for its passive boost, never actually swinging it but benefiting from increased incantation damage. The dagger represents how equipment can provide value beyond direct combat application. Passive benefits sometimes mattering more than the weapon's actual attacks. The Misericord's critical devastation. In medieval warfare, the Misericord dagger serves specific purpose, delivering final blows to fallen knights, its narrow blade sliding between armor plates to pierce vulnerable spots. Elden Ring's Misericord maintains this tradition, featuring the highest critical damage of any weapon in the game. You can find this dagger in Stormveil Castle, hidden among the castle's numerous secrets. The weapon requires 7 strength and 12 dexterity, minimal requirements for such a significant weapon. What makes the Misericord special is its 140 critical rating, far exceeding most weapons' 100 and 110 range. This means riposte and backstab attacks deal dramatically more damage when using this dagger compared to alternatives. Against enemies, successfully landing critical strikes with the Misericord often results in instant kills or massive damage. The dagger's design optimizing it for precisely this application. The weapon can be infused with Ashes of War and modified with various affinities, customization allowing you to enhance either critical damage or regular attack power depending on priorities. When combined with critical boosting talismans, the Misericord transforms into assassination tool capable of obliterating enemies through precise strikes. Some players specifically build entire characters around this dagger, creating critical focus builds that delete enemies through backstabs and ripostes. The weapon represents surgical violence, rejecting sustained combat in favor of patient positioning, followed by decisive execution that ends fights in single devastating strikes. The Scorpion's Stinger's Crimson Rot. Deep in the lake of rot, where scarlet decay festers in virulent pools, you can find the Scorpion Stinger, a dagger thoroughly saturated with rot. This weapon embodies the corrupting power that destroyed Caelid and continues spreading. You obtain this dagger by claiming it from specific locations within the Lake of Rot. The weapon requires 6 strength and 14 dexterity. Minimal requirements allowing quick adoption once you reach the underground area. What makes the Scorpion Stinger unique is its innate scarlet rot buildup. Every strike fills enemy rot meters. Invisible accumulation leading to devastating percentage-based damage once the threshold triggers. Unlike blood loss, which hits once for burst damage, scarlet rot continues inflicting damage over extended periods, making it exceptionally effective against high health bosses. The dagger can be upgraded with somber smithing stones, improving gradually while maintaining rot buildup. Against enemies vulnerable to scarlet rot, the Scorpion's Stinger proves devastatingly effective through sustained damage that ignores defenses. The corrupted appearance and dripping design make this weapon visually distinctive, its pestilent nature evident. Some players specifically build around the Scorpion Stinger for rot-focused characters, stacking multiple rot effects to maximize the status's lethality. The dagger represents the same power that laid waste to entire regions, corruption concentrated into tool that spreads plague with surgical precision. The Erdsteel dagger's holy standard. Not all daggers serve nefarious purposes. The Erdsteel dagger represents Holy Warrior's approach to close combat. Blessed blade for faithful defenders. You can find this dagger in various locations, dropped by soldiers or purchased from merchants. The weapon requires 8 strength, 12 dexterity, and 14 faith, requiring religious devotion alongside physical skill. What makes the Erdsteel dagger appealing is its innate holy damage. Every strike deals physical and holy damage simultaneously. The weapon can be infused with Ashes of War and modified with various affinities, customization allowing enhancement of either damage type. When upgraded with Sacred Affinity, the Erdsteel dagger's holy damage increases dramatically while improving faith scaling, creating true paladin weapon. Against undead enemies particularly vulnerable to holy damage, this dagger devastates through split damage types hitting different defensive stats. The golden construction and religious iconography make the Erdsteel dagger visually match other Golden Order equipment. Some players appreciate this weapon specifically because it provides holy damage option for dagger users. Faith builds no longer forced to abandon finesse in favor of massive hammers and greatswords. The blade represents faith made practical, divine power channeled through quick strikes rather than spectacular miracles, proving that even the smallest weapons can carry God's blessing. The celebrant's sickle's festive harvest. The same deranged cultists who wield the celebrant's cleaver also carry smaller sickles during their twisted celebrations. The celebrant's sickle shares the cleaver's strange magic, enhancing rune acquisition. You can claim this weapon by defeating celebrant enemies, randomly dropped when you kill them. The dagger requires 7 strength and 11 dexterity, minimal requirements for a farming tool turned weapon. What makes this sickle valuable isn't combat performance but passive effect. Wearing it increases runes gained from defeated enemies, stackable with other rune boosting effects. Players farming runes specifically equip the celebrant sickle in secondary weapon slots, gaining benefit without actually using it in combat. When fully upgraded, the sickle achieves acceptable damage for a dagger, making it viable as actual weapon rather than pure farming tool. The curved blade and stained appearance suggest countless victims have fed its magic. Their deaths strengthening the weapon's properties. Some theorize celebrants worship ancient powers that recognize violence as sacred offering, their rituals tapping fundamental forces. For players grinding levels or purchasing expensive items, the celebrant's sickle becomes essential farming equipment, its rune boost accumulating into significant savings over hundreds of enemy kills when combined with other boosting effects. The crystal knife's magical throw. Among thrown weapons, the crystal knife represents sorcery-infused projectiles that return to the wielder's hand. These glintstone daggers can be thrown repeatedly without consuming inventory, magical properties causing them to materialize again after use. You can craft crystal knives using specific materials or find them in locations associated with glintstone sorcery. The knives require 10 strength, 10 dexterity, and 14 intelligence, requiring magical knowledge. What makes crystal knives unique is their infinite nature. Throwing them doesn't deplete your inventory because they're conjured through sorcery rather than physical objects. This provides ranged options for intelligence builds without ammunition management. The knives deal physical and magic damage on impact, scaling with intelligence. Against enemies, opening with thrown crystal knives before closing to melee range creates effective combat rhythm. The glintstone construction and magical properties link these weapons to Raya Lucaria's sorceress traditions. Some players specifically use crystal knives for battle mage builds, wanting reliable ranged attacks that don't consume FP like spells. The knives represent the practical application of sorcerer's theory, magic solving the mundane problem of ammunition depletion through conjuration that renders physical inventory irrelevant. The fan dagger's Eastern art. From the distant land of reeds came exotic throwing weapons rarely seen in the lands between. Fan daggers represent these foreign implements, blade-edged fans designed for both melee and range combat. You can find fan daggers in specific locations or craft them using materials. The weapons require 8 strength and 14 dexterity, modest requirements for thrown armaments. What makes fan daggers appealing is their versatility. They function as both melee weapons for close combat and thrown projectiles for distant enemies. When thrown, fan daggers deal solid damage before falling to the ground for retrieval. This requires managing your ammunition carefully, picking up thrown weapons to maintain supply. Against enemies, alternating between thrown attacks and melee strikes creates unpredictable combat rhythm. The elegant design and Eastern origin make fan daggers popular for builds focused on Land of Reed's warriors, combining them with katanas and samurai armor for complete aesthetic unity. Some players appreciate that fan daggers require tactical thinking about when to throw versus when to conserve. Resource management adding depth to combat. The weapons represent Eastern martial philosophy that values adaptability, single implement serving multiple purposes through skillful application. The Starfish cosmic impact. When meteors fall from space, their ore can be shaped into weapons that channel cosmic power. The Starfish represents this approach applied to fist weapons, gauntlets incorporating meteoric materials. You can find starfish in Altus Plateau areas, their location suggesting they fell from the sky relatively recently. The weapons require 12 strength, 8 dexterity, and 21 intelligence. Unusual requirements demanding magical knowledge for fist weapons. What makes starfish unique is their innate magic damage and gravity properties. Every punch deals physical and magic damage, while the charged heavy attack releases a gravitational shockwave. This makes them effective for battle mages wanting to literally punch enemies with cosmic force. The fists scale with strength, dexterity, and intelligence, rewarding diverse stat investments. When powers dance together, dual starfists create devastating rapid combo that builds both physical damage and magic damage simultaneously. Against enemies weak to either damage type, starfists prove exceptionally effective. The meteoric ore construction gives these gauntlets distinctive coloration that sets them apart visually. Some players specifically build around starfists for cosmic brawler concepts, combining them with gravity sorceries and celestial-themed equipment. The weapons channel power from beyond the world, stars themselves providing the ore that now crushes enemies through raw kinetic force enhanced by cosmic properties. The Kestis's bare-knuckle basics. Sometimes the most effective weapons are the simplest. Reinforced gauntlets that enhance your natural punching power. The Kestis represents this philosophy. Minimal equipment that amplifies what your body already does. You can purchase Kestis from merchants or find them on corpses throughout the world. The weapons require 5 strength and 8 dexterity. Minimal requirements allowing nearly anyone to adopt bare-knuckle fighting. What makes Kestis appealing is its lightweight and rapid attack speed. Punches come out faster than most weapon swings, allowing aggressive pressure through sustained combos. The weapons can be infused with ashes of war and modified with various affinities, providing complete customization despite their simple nature. When upgraded and infused appropriately, Kestis achieves solid damage while maintaining the attack speed that makes fist weapons effective. Against enemies, the rapid punching creates constant pressure that prevents opponents from recovering or counter-attacking. The Kestis's simplicity appeals to players who want pure melee expression without weapon gimmicks. Just fists enhanced by metal plating delivering violence through repeated impacts. Some players specifically use Kestis throughout entire playthroughs for ultimate challenge runs, rejecting weapons entirely in favor of beating the game through punching alone. The gauntlets prove that sometimes the best tools simply enhance natural capabilities rather than replacing them with complex mechanisms. The Cypher Patter's unblockable light. Among the most unusual weapons in the lands between, the Cypher Patter consists of light shaped into blade form, holy energy made tangible through faith. These weapons appear as golden light extending from your hands, ethereal yet deadly. You can find Cypher Patter in specific locations associated with divine worship, their holy nature making them sacred implements. The weapons require 0 strength, 0 dexterity, and 30 faith. Astronomical faith requirements with no physical stat demands whatsoever. What makes Cypher Patter unique is their unblockable property. Attacks pass through shields and guards, hitting enemies regardless of defensive posture. This makes them incredibly effective against shielded opponents who rely on blocking. The weapons deal pure holy damage with no physical component, scaling exclusively with faith. When upgraded with somber smithing stones, Cypher Patter achieves impressive damage for pure faith builds. Against undead enemies particularly vulnerable to holy damage, these weapons devastate through their unblockable holy attacks. The visual effect of light blades extending from your fists makes Cypher Patter spectacular to watch in action. Some players specifically pursue these weapons for ultimate faith warrior builds, rejecting physical weapons entirely in favor of manifested divine power. The weapons represent faith at its purest, belief made literal through light that cuts enemies while remaining intangible, divine authority that cannot be blocked or denied. The spiked Caestus's bleeding fists. Not content with simple metal reinforcement, the spiked Caestus adds protruding spikes that tear flesh with every punch. These enhanced gauntlets build blood loss through repeated strikes, combining rapid fist weapon attacks with hemorrhage accumulation. You can find spiked Caestus on corpses or dropped by specific enemies wielding them. The weapons require 8 strength and 12 dexterity, modest requirements for fist weapons. What makes spiked Caestus appealing is the combination of rapid attack speed and blood loss build-up. The quick punching fills enemy bleed meters rapidly, leading to percentage-based damage procs. When power stands together, dual spiked Caestus creates some of the fastest blood loss build-up in the game through sheer volume of hits. The weapons can be upgraded and infused with Ashes of War, customization allowing enhancement of either physical damage or bleed build-up. Against enemies vulnerable to hemorrhage, spiked Caestus proves devastatingly effective through rapid bleed procs. The spike design and blood-stained appearance make these gauntlets visually distinctive among fist weapons. Some players specifically build around spiked Caestus for maximum blood loss builds, stacking bleed-enhancing effects to create characters that shred enemy health bars through accumulated hemorrhage. The weapons represent violence made efficient, every punch not just damaging, but also poisoning bloodstreams until critical accumulation triggers catastrophic system failure. The Iron Ball's ridiculous weapon. Among fist weapons, the Iron Ball stands out for being absolutely absurd. Massive spiked spheres attached to chains that you swing like oversized flails. These weapons shouldn't work, but somehow do. Physics be damned. You can find iron balls on specific enemies or in treasure locations. The weapons require 11 strength, 8 dexterity, and 8 arcane, unusual requirements for fist weapons. What makes iron balls unique is their attack pattern. Swinging them creates wide arcs that hit surprisingly hard while building blood loss. The chains allow extended reach compared to typical fist weapons, creating hybrid between close combat and medium range. When power stands together, dual iron balls create spectacular visual comedy as you flail massive spiked spheres at enemies. The weapons scale with strength, dexterity, and arcane, rewarding diverse stat investments. Against enemies, the Iron Ball's combination of reach, damage, and bleed build-up makes them more effective than their ridiculous appearance suggests. Some players specifically seek Iron Balls for maximum absurdity. The cognitive dissonance of beating bosses to death with oversized spiked spheres, providing endless amusement. The weapons represent someone asking, what if we made the dumbest possible fist weapon, and then discovering it actually works effectively? Engineering achievement through questionable decision-making that somehow arrived a viable combat implement. The Katar's punching blade. Eastern martial traditions produced the Katar, a punching dagger where the blade extends forward from a horizontal grip. This weapon combines dagger lethality with fist weapon mechanics. You can find Katar purchased from merchants or on corpses in various locations. The weapon requires 5 strength and 14 dexterity, minimal requirements emphasizing finesse over power. What makes kata appealing is its attack pattern. Rapid thrusting punches that hit faster than most weapons while maintaining respectable reach. The blade can be infused with ashes of war and modified with various affinities, providing complete customization flexibility. When upgraded and built properly, kata achieves solid damage while maintaining the attack speed that makes fist weapons effective. Against enemies, the rapid thrusting creates constant pressure through sustained combos. The Eastern design and unique mechanics make kata popular for builds focused on Land of Reed's warriors, though the weapon's Indian origins suggest even more distant lands than typically referenced. Some players appreciate kata specifically because it bridges the gap between daggers and fist weapons, providing rapid attacks with better reach than typical punching armaments. The weapon represents martial arts refined into lethal form. Generations of technique distilled into simple implement that maximizes effectiveness through proper application rather than complex mechanisms. The Clinging Bone's Cursed Grasp. Among the most disturbing fist weapons, the Clinging Bone consists of skeletal hands that attach to your arms. Ancient remains animated through dark magic. These weapons represent necromancy, made practical, death serving the living. You can find Clinging Bone in catacombs and burial sites, their location appropriate given their construction from corpse parts. The weapons require 8 strength, 16 dexterity, and 16 intelligence, unusual requirements demanding magical knowledge. What makes Clinging Bone unique is their appearance and lore implications. You're literally wearing dead hands as weapons, skeletal fingers extending from your arms. The attacks feature appropriate animations where the bone hands claw and grasp at enemies. When power stands together, dual Clinging Bone creates disturbing spectacle as you assault enemies with 4 skeletal hands. The weapons scale with strength, dexterity, and intelligence, rewarding diverse stat investments. Against enemies, the Clinging Bone achieves respectable damage while maintaining the rapid attack pattern that makes fist weapons effective. Some players specifically seek these weapons for necromancer builds, combining them with death sorceries and grave robbing equipment for complete thematic unity. The weapons prove that even the dead can serve, their bones repurposed for violence long after the original owners perished. Desecration transformed into practical combat application that makes corpses useful one final time. The veteran's prosthesis's lost limb. Commander Niall of Castle Saul fought countless battles before losing his leg, the missing limb replaced with ornate prosthetic. When you defeat Niall, you can claim his prosthesis as trophy, the artificial leg functioning as weapon. The veteran's prosthesis represents turning disability into capability. Lost limb replaced with implement more effective than flesh ever was. This fist weapon requires 18 strength, 10 dexterity, and 24 faith. High faith requirement unusual for prosthetic limb. What makes this weapon unique is its weapon skill Storm Kick. Activating it causes you to perform Niall's signature wind-imbued kick, releasing a shockwave of stormy force. The prosthesis deals physical and lightning damage, scaling with strength, dexterity, and faith. Against enemies, the Storm Kick provides excellent burst damage and crowd control through its wind effect. When upgraded with somber smithing stones, the veteran's prosthesis achieves impressive damage while maintaining the lightning properties that make it distinctive. The ornate design and commander's legacy make this prosthesis trophy weapon that players display proudly. Some players specifically build around the veteran's processes for warrior priest concepts, combining melee strikes with lightning incantations. The weapon represents triumph over adversity, disability overcome through engineering that creates capability exceeding the original biological limb. The Magma Whore Candlestick's grotesque torch. In the manner of Volcano, fire monks wield disturbing weapons that combine torch and whip, flame serving both illumination and violence. The name itself references the volcano's corrupting influence on religious devotion. You can obtain this weapon by defeating specific fire monk enemies wielding it. The weapon requires 8 strength, 16 dexterity, and 10 faith. Balanced requirements for hybrid armament. What makes this whip unique is its combination of fire damage with whip range. Attacks swing the flaming candlestick through wide arcs, setting enemies ablaze while maintaining safe distance. The weapon deals physical and fire damage, scaling with strength, dexterity, and faith. Against enemies weak to fire, this whip proves particularly effective through its dual damage types. When upgraded with somber smithing stones, the Magma Whip achieves solid damage while maintaining the fire properties that define it. The candlestick design creates unusual visual, where you're whipping enemies with ornate torch. Cognitive dissonance between religious implement and violent application, creating memorable impression. Some players specifically seek this weapon for fire monk builds, combining it with flame incantations and volcanic talismans for complete thematic unity. The whip represents how sacred fire can serve multiple purposes. Same flames that provide light and warmth, also burning away impurity through violent purification that makes no distinction between heretic and monster. The Hoslow's Petal Whip's noble cruelty. The Hoslow family serves as recusants in Volcano Manor, their noble heritage evident in ornately decorated equipment. Hoslow's Petal Whip represents this aristocratic cruelty, elegant weapon designed to inflict suffering with style. You can obtain this whip by completing Volcano Manor's assassination contracts and defeating Juno Hoslow. The weapon requires 8 strength and 20 dexterity, emphasizing finesse over power. What makes this whip appealing is its innate blood loss build-up combined with whip's natural reach advantage. Rapid strikes build hemorrhage, while keeping you at safe distance from enemy counterattacks. When power stanced with another whip, dual wielding creates devastating blood loss build-up through sheer volume of hits across wide area. The weapon can be upgraded with somber smithing stones, improving damage and bleed build-up simultaneously. Against enemies vulnerable to hemorrhage, Hoslow's Petal Whip proves exceptionally effective through sustained whipping that fills bleed meters rapidly. The floral decorations and noble craftsmanship make this whip visually distinctive, elegant torture implement befitting aristocratic torturers. Some players specifically pursue dual Hoslow's Petal Whips for maximum bleed builds, stacking hemorrhage effects to create characters that shred health bars through accumulated blood loss. The whip represents how nobility employs violence, refined brutality that maintains aesthetic standards while inflicting suffering, proving that cruelty can be conducted with style and grace. The Urumi's flexible steel. Among unusual weapons, the Urumi stands out for being flexible metal whip, styled after real-world Indian sword. This weapon represents martial traditions from lands beyond the lands between's normal scope. You can find the Urumi in Courier Manor, hidden among the estate's many secrets. The weapon requires 10 strength and 19 dexterity, modest requirements emphasizing finesse. What makes the Urumi unique is its attack pattern featuring overhead slams unusual for whips, the flexible blade creating unpredictable arcs. The weapon can be infused with ashes of war and modified with various affinities, providing complete customization. When upgraded and built properly, the Urumi achieves solid damage while maintaining the reach and attack speed that make whips effective. Against enemies, the overhead attacks hit from unexpected angles that bypass traditional defenses. The flexible metal design creates visual spectacle as the blade bends impossibly during attacks. Some players appreciate the Urumi specifically for its historical inspiration, real-world weapon made fantastical through game mechanics. The whip represents martial traditions from distant lands, fighting techniques developed in cultures barely referenced by the game's primarily European-inspired aesthetics. The giant's red braid's fell god, the fire giants who warred against the Golden Order, served a deity called the fell god of fire, their faith centered on cosmic flames. After defeating the fire giant boss, you can transform its remembrance into the giant's red braid, literally a section of the giant's own hair weaponized. This weapon represents taking your enemy's body parts as trophies, their physical form repurposed for violence against their allies. The braid requires 9 strength, 9 dexterity, and 18 faith, balanced requirements for such an unusual weapon. What makes the giant's red braid unique is its weapon skill flame dance. Activating it causes you to swing the braid in massive arcs while fire erupts along its length, the visual spectacle matching the damage output. The weapon deals physical and fire damage, scaling with strength, dexterity, and faith. Against enemies weak to fire, the giant's red braid devastates through its dual damage types and crowd control capabilities. When fully upgraded, this whip achieves impressive damage while maintaining the fire properties that make it memorable. The fact that you're using a giant's actual hair as weapon creates disturbing implications about desecration and trophy taking. Some players specifically seek the giant's red braid for fire-focused builds, combining it with flame incantations for complete thematic unity. The weapon channels the same fell god fire that the fire giants worshipped, their faith now serving their killers in ultimate irony.